Chapter 501. Master, why do you always ask me to find such uncreative things? The little baby was dissatisfied. Thinking back to the sky garden that he was in charge of, the most beautiful spiritual flowers and spiritual trees in the world were planted. The entire garden was filled with dense spiritual power and the fragrance of flowers. How enjoyable that was. If I ask you to find it, then find it. I don't have much divine power left. If you waste my time talking nonsense, believe it or not, I'll seal you into the big grass eater. Yunjioga threatened. I don't want to go to that disgusting place. This kind of thing that could be eaten by humans and beasts was simply lowering its style. The little baby didn't dare to say any more. He quickly found something that met Yunjioga's requirements and quickly planted it. Yunjioga opened her eyes, and there were 5 pure white and soft plants that looked like sheep intestines in her hands. She pinched the heads of the 5 sheep intestines into sharp shapes, and then fused the other end together. Little kids, I'll stab this sharp head into your hands later, but you don't have to be afraid. This is for healing, it won't be very painful, Yunjioga said softly to the little snake people. The little snake people didn't say anything, but the tips of their taut tails showed how nervous they were. Good kids, be obedient. After you're healed, you'll still have meat pancakes to eat. Yunjioga used his trump card. The little snake people's eyes lit up, and they immediately rushed to stretch out their arms. Whip mine, whip mine. To them, there was nothing more terrifying than hunger. You guys lie down first. Yunjioga made the 5 little snake people's heads form a circle inwards, and then he stabbed the sharp heads of the 5 tubes into the little snake people's blood vessels. Then, he called Fei Fei over. Try and see if you can touch the death energy in their bodies like this. Yunjioga tied the big head to Fei Fei's black wings. Yes, but it's a little slow. Fei Fei stopped on the branch above the little snake people's heads and began to slowly flap its wings. Waves of black color flowed from the little snake people's bodies to Fei Fei's shoulders through the tubes, and then it turned into life energy that landed on their bodies. The pale skin of the 5 little nagas slowly regained some color, and the dull color of their little snake tails also regained some luster. Very good, Fei Fei, keep it up. Yunjioga shouted to Fei Fei. Fei Fei did not leave her, but continued to maintain the rhythm. The black substance in the bodies of these little snakes was very viscous. They couldn't be waved around randomly like they were dealing with the soil. They had to be precise and rhythmic. Seeing that Fei Fei was serious, Yunjioga didn't dare to disturb it again, so he stayed by the side obediently. The scales on the tails of the 5 little nagas became brighter and brighter, as if they had been dipped in oil, emitting a rich vitality. Miss Yun, can these little bastards be saved? Meng asked excitedly and nervously. I'm just extracting the deathly aura from their bodies. I can't cure them completely. But don't worry, the cure won't be too far away. Yunjioga was afraid that Meng would give up on these little nagas. Alright, then I'll thank you on their behalf. Meng Long nodded his head. Right now, the tribe was willing to raise the little nagas because they were still young. When they reached adulthood, they would have to feed themselves. If they were too weak, they would definitely die. At this moment, Zhe turned around and happily said to Yunjioga, Miss Yun, the rice is cooked. It's so fragrant. I'm so full after just one bowl. God knows how long it had been since he had a full stomach. Miss Yun, try it. Military advisor brought over a clean stone bowl. There was light yellow rice inside, emitting a faint aroma. It was very delicious. Yunjioga tasted a mouthful. The rice was a bit coarse and hard to chew. There was no spirit force inside, but she still felt full. But with her current appetite, she was full after half a bowl. It wasn't good to throw away the rest, so she gave it to Zishang. Zishang silently took it and poured it all into his mouth. Miss Yun, can we plant these rice at Eagle Cliff? Zhe asked eagerly. These herbivores were really good to grow and filled. It would be great if they could promote it at Eagle Cliff. Many of their partners were herbivores. He even thought that if Eagle Cliff had a source of food, the Eagle tribe wouldn't be afraid of being single anymore. Eagle Cliff can plant them. Just scatter them on the walls, but it's not easy to harvest. Yunjioga found that the roots of these herbivores were very tough. They could even pierce through rocks, so planting them on the walls was no problem. That's no problem, you just need to help us plant them. We'll think about the rest ourselves. Military advisor quickly said. As long as there was food, harvesting was no problem. They could even pull them out one by one. Okay, I'll help you plant them when I get back. Yunjioga nodded. Even without Dummy, seeing that the Eagle tribe never joined Nangongyu, she was worth training. Then I'll send someone back to Eagle Cliff now. No, I'll go back myself. Ah Zay, you stay here and guard Miss Yun. Military advisor felt that sending anyone was unreliable when it came to food. It was better to do it himself. Go, I'll be here. Ah Zay patted his chest. Meng, bring some rice and potatoes for them to see, Yunjioga said to Meng. I'll go prepare it now. Meng personally took a huge brown leather bag and kept stuffing the rice and potatoes inside. It's enough, I can't carry it if it's too heavy. Military advisor quickly stopped him. Miss Yun was going to plant at Eagle Cliff later anyway. There was no need to act like a hungry ghost. Okay, take it. Meng handed the bag over. Although his heart was bleeding, he felt much better when he turned his head and saw the large patch of grass. Military advisor took the bag and flapped his wings to fly to Eagle Cliff. He wanted to go directly to Grandpa's place, but he found many people sighing in front of a goose nest. A goose cries could be faintly heard, Gwa, Gwa, wake up. What's wrong? Military advisor quickly flew over. A goose partner fainted. She's been calling for a long time, but she can't wake up, an eagle man replied. Let me see. Military advisor quickly threw the bag to the corner and strode in. A goose lair was very clean and tidy. At this moment, the petite rabbit girl was lying on the ground covered with hay. Her skinny body was like a small ball. Her partner, Gu, hugged her tightly and couldn't breathe. Gu, what's wrong with Gua? Military advisor asked. I don't know. She suddenly fainted. She won't wake up no matter what. Military advisor, don't you know a Miss Yun who can treat illnesses? Can you ask her to take a look at Gua? Gu begged. Let her go first and let me take a look, military advisor said in a low voice. Gu hurriedly laid the fruit flat. He saw Gua Air's long ears drooping down listlessly. Her face was yellow, and her eyes were closed. She was extremely skinny. Her limbs were long and thin, but her stomach was slightly bulging. She looked a little pregnant. Chapter 502. Ah Ping, bring your partner over to see if Gua is pregnant. Although the orcs didn't care about male and female intimacy, he hadn't had a child before, so he had to find an experienced orc. An older orc immediately brought his bull tribe companion over. The man with horns on his head, who was also skinny, touched Gua-er's belly and said with a nod, that's right. She's pregnant. Gua-er is actually pregnant, but why did she faint? Gu asked in a low voice. He was exhausted from looking for food every day and fell asleep as soon as he came back. He didn't even notice Gua-er was pregnant. Damn it. Pregnant females have bigger appetites. She's hungry. The ox man sighed. Although Gu had tried very hard, food was too hard to find. Gua-er was introverted and patient. She wouldn't tell Gu no matter how hungry she was. I'll go find food for her now. Gu was about to rush out. Wait. The military counselor quickly stopped Gu and said, I just got some food from the Naga tribe. You can give it to Gua-er later. What food? Gu said warily. We don't eat gaga grass. Everyone in the Eagle Men knew there was something wrong with the Gaga grass. Do you think I'm stupid? It's the food that Miss Yun made. Bring some back for me to try. Oh right, where's my grandpa? The military counselor looked around and didn't find his grandpa. Usually, when something like this happened, the grandpa would take the lead and be the first to rush over. I don't know. I don't see him. I think he's in the nursery. No, I saw him come out of the nursery and go to the warehouse. The Eagle Men all talked at once. I'll go find him. Cook these for Gua. The military counselor poured out a dozen potatoes and flew to the warehouse with the rest of the food. The wooden door of the warehouse was half open. A skinny figure lay in front of it. Grandpa. The military counselor was scared out of his wits. He rushed over to help the grandpa up. The grandpa's face was yellow, his lips were cracked, and his breath was weak. Ah Ping, ah Hui, come here quickly. After arranging for his tribesmen to take care of the old man, the military advisor immediately flew to the Naga territory to find Yunjioga. At that moment, Yunjioga was examining the little Naga who had just finished healing. Very good, most of the death aura on your body has disappeared. You won't be afraid of light anymore. Take off the hood. Yunjioga personally took off the black hood on the heads of the 5 little Nagas. This was the first time she had seen the little Nagas. Unlike the little chicks of the Eagle Man race, these little snake people were all quite beautiful. Their eyelashes were especially long, and their pale skin gave off a sinister vibe, giving them a dark sense of beauty. Although Yunjioga wasn't obsessed with appearances, he was still very happy to see that the child he saved was so cute. Patriarch, father, mother. The 5 little Nagas opened their eyes. The first thing they saw was their chief, who had been protecting them, and then their parents. Children, come here quickly. The parents of the 5 little Nagas rushed forward to hug their children. The Naga race didn't have countless eggs in one litter like snakes. Most of them laid 1 egg at a time, and it was already good to have 2, so the babies were just as precious to them. Feifei was very touched by the tears of the little Naga's family reunion. It landed beside Yunjioga and said in a low voice, "This is the first time I feel that it's not bad to evolve into this appearance." Why? Did you not like your appearance in the past? Yunjioga was surprised. Feifei had always been very smug and confident, and she thought that Feifei liked her appearance a lot. Yes, it's a little boring to only have black and white. I like colors. Feifei dreamed that it could become a colorful butterfly, sprinkling beautiful spirit light instead of black death aura. However, after saving these 5 little Nagas today, its heart was filled with a strong sense of pride, which made it happier than its appearance. Although your body is only black and white, it's fine as long as your heart is colored. Yunjioga patted Feifei's head. This smug and pretentious little guy finally realized its importance. Yes. Feifei nodded. Suddenly, a warm current surged from its chest and surged toward the wings on both sides. The black and white wings suddenly emitted a faint light, and in the end, they turned into 2 Tai Chi fish imprinted on the wings. It's evolved? Zi Shang was surprised. The yin-yang reincarnation butterfly was a strange creature in the world. It was already very miraculous for it to be formed, and evolving was even more difficult. He had seen a yin-yang reincarnation butterfly evolve once every 100 years, and it had to be fed countless spirit herbs to accumulate. In his eyes, Feifei was completely free-range. Other than the 2 bottles of spirit beast pills every month, he usually fed it a few pills when he was praising it, and it actually evolved. If this got out, people's jaws would probably drop. However, other than Yunjioga, no one else would casually take out the yin-yang reincarnation butterfly and use it. They basically kept it in the spirit garden for fear of being seen. This pattern is so ugly. Feifei looked at the black and white fish in disgust. No, it's very beautiful. Continue to work hard, and one day, it will definitely give birth to the most beautiful pattern in the world, Yunjioga comforted perfunctorily. That's a must. Fei was happy again. Meng, who had been silently observing from the side, did not know what had happened to the little butterfly, but he instinctively guessed that it should be something good. He said happily, "Miss Yun, today is really a joyous occasion. Our tribe plans to hold a bonfire banquet. Please stay and celebrate with us." Their tribe had not held a bonfire banquet for a long time, so he decided to properly celebrate and build a good relationship with Yunjioga. Sure. Yunjioga nodded. She also wanted to properly rope in the Naga tribe, and then ask about Nangong Yu's situation, as well as the surrounding tribes that could be reclaimed. Then I will give the order now. Meng excitedly announced the order to the Naga tribe. They would hold a bonfire banquet tonight, and they would all be provided with grass rice and potatoes. The Naga tribe let out a deafening cheer. The military advisor had arrived at this moment. "Miss Yun, it's bad. My grandfather has fainted." The military advisor suddenly landed in front of Yunjioga and shouted. "What happened to Elder Bai? He was fine when they left." "I don't know. When I returned, I saw him fainting in front of the warehouse, and he still hasn't woken up," the military advisor said anxiously. "Then let's go back immediately." Yunjioga made a prompt decision. Elder Bai was the spiritual leader of the Eagle Men tribe. If something happened to him, the Eagle Men tribe would definitely fall into chaos. This was something she absolutely did not want to see. Chapter 503. Lady Yun, Master Yi Zi, do you want to bring some food back? Meng asked with concern. "There's no need for that. Just stay here. I'll visit you again when I'm free. Remember to keep an eye on Oracle Xian. Forget about the bonfire party," Yunjioga reminded them before he left. If she and Zi Shang were here, they would be able to block out the noise of the Naga race, but it wasn't suitable now. "Lady Yun and Master Yi Zi, don't worry. I know what to do." Meng wasn't dumb. The elder of the eagle race was in critical condition, but they were holding a bonfire party here. Wasn't that stupid? Okay. Yunjioga nodded and sat on the seat of the eagle race. They quickly flew towards Eagle Cliff. The outside of Elder Bai's cave was filled with eagle men. All of them had a pained and lost expression. Ever since the old chief sacrificed himself to protect them, Elder Bai became their spiritual leader. No matter how hard the days were, they could survive. If Elder Bai left, what would happen to the eagle race? His Highness had become an idiot. Advisor was smart but lacking courage. Zhe was brave but lacking a brain. Who else could lead the eagle race? "Everyone move aside, Lady Yun is here," Zhe yelled from afar. All the eagle men moved aside and let Zhe and the others fly in. As soon as Zi Shang landed, he protected Yunjioga and walked into Elder Bai's cave. Elder Bai was still unconscious. If it wasn't for the occasional rise and fall of his chest, he would look no different from a dead man. Yunjioga checked Elder Bai's pulse and frowned. Elder Bai was old and worried for a long time. He was at the end of his rope. "Lady Yun, how's my grandpa?" Advisor asked. "I can wake him up, but he probably doesn't have much time left." Yunjioga shook her head. Advisor's eyes reddened. He gritted his teeth and didn't beg Yunjioga to save his grandpa. He just asked, "How long does my grandpa have left?" "If he recuperates well, he should have a year left. However, remember not to be tired, angry, and worried. You must rest well." Yunjioga said 1 year too much. "How long until His Highness wakes up?" Advisor asked. "Dummy will wake up in 7 days at most." Dummy was in the most important period of recovery, so Yunjioga didn't dare to forcibly wake him up. "Alright, then I'll have to trouble Miss Yun to wake my grandfather up first." The military counselor bowed deeply to Yunjioga. Yunjioga took out the thunder fire needles and pierced them into Elder Bai's meridians, the Taiyang and the Huku acupoints. Elder Bai shuddered and slowly opened his eyes. He looked at the military counselor and Yunjioga in confusion and asked hoarsely, "What's wrong with me?" "Grandpa, you were so tired that you collapsed at the entrance of the warehouse just now," the military counselor said while suppressing his sadness. "Looks like I'm really getting old. I originally wanted to go to the warehouse to see if there was anything to take out for the kid, but I didn't expect to collapse just as I reached the door." Elder Bai shook his head helplessly. Just as he was about to get up, he was held down by the military counselor. "Grandfather, Miss Yun said that you only have 1 year left to live. You must rest quietly and not tire yourself out. However, His Royal Highness will wake up in 7 days." Elder Bai was stunned for a moment. Then he nodded calmly and said, "All right. I can see His Royal Highness wake up with my own eyes. I can be considered to be worthy of the deceased patriarch." He knew his body very well. He had long been unable to do as he wished and had been holding on by force. When he collapsed this time, he thought that he was going to see the old patriarch. He didn't expect to live for another year. It was not bad. "Grandpa, there's another good news. Miss Yun has grown food. It's called grass rice and grass potatoes." The military counselor walked to the entrance of the cave and shouted, "Do you still have the boiled grass potatoes left?" "Yes, yes, yes." A goose voice came from afar. Then he brought 9 cooked grass potatoes over. The military counselor had left 12 potatoes, and he cooked all of them. Gua ate 3 and said that she didn't want to eat any more. She asked him to send the food back to the military counselor. Military counselor took the 9 grass potatoes and gave 2 to a gu. "Now that Gua has children, you have to take care of them. You also have to pay attention to yourself. Once the children were born, they would have 1 more mouth to feed, and they would be very tired." "Okay." Agu didn't reject it. He thought that he would return it to the military counselor when he could find more food. The military counselor placed the grass potatoes in front of his grandpa and bragged about the magic of grass eating. "Finally," he said, "other than this grass potato, there's also grass rice. It's very fragrant when cooked. It's very filling." "That's right. I ate 2 bowls there. I'm very full. I'm full now. I can fly 5 laps around Blue Water Lake without a problem." Zay patted his belly and said to Elder Bai, "Is that grass eating really that easy to grow?" Elder Bai looked at Yunjioga eagerly and excitedly as if he was looking at a god. "Later, I can help you plant all the rock walls here. You just have to harvest like this," Yunjioga said. "No problem, you can plant it on this side of the wall. When the time comes, I'll ask them to open up a plank road on the side and make a rope ladder from the top. Even the partners of the eagle tribe can be harvested." Elder Bai immediately told him what he was thinking. "You can also plant it in our nest," Zay said while drooling. Thinking about sleeping in food made him smile even in his dreams. Grass eating isn't suitable for growing in caves. Yunjioga shook his head. However, Eagle Cliff's rock wall area was limited. It probably wouldn't be enough for them to eat even if they were all planted. She had to find something more suitable for them. It would be best if she could plant it in their nest. Thus, she went to find the little baby and told him her request. "There's a kind of moss that's quite suitable for them. It tastes bad, but at least it can fill their stomachs." The little baby had already understood the current situation of the orcs in Yunjioga's Sea of Consciousness. He organized all the seeds in the demonic tripod. There were many seeds, but they were all extremely precious and required extremely high spirit chi. Like the big grass eater, it could only find a green moss after rummaging through the whole place. This moss had been a tribute from the merfolk. It was said that it could grow in the sea or by the river. It would glow with a light green light, and it was fat and delicious. "Okay, this is it. Show me." Then, Yunjioga had a palm-sized green crystal in his hand. Luckily, the seeds that those races had offered were all essence. They just needed to be ground up to grow quickly. If it was an ordinary seed, it would take a long time to grow and the chances of dying were very high. Miss Yun, what is this? Zhe looked curiously at Yunjoga's hand and then pinched his own as though curious about how something could grow on its own. Chapter 504. This is green moss. You can plant it in your cave. You can eat it when it grows. It's not as good as eating grass, but it's not bad. Yunjoga showed the moss to everyone. Then let's try it. Zhe said impatiently. Then let's try it at Elder Bai's place. You guys go get a bucket of clean water and 2 baskets of mud. Yunjoga felt that if Elder Bai could see food every day when he opened his eyes, he might be able to live longer. I'll go. Zhe immediately flapped his wings and flew out. The eagle men guarding the door heard that they were going to plant food and immediately followed him excitedly. Soon, a large stone vat of water and 2 baskets of yellow mud were placed in front of Yunjoga. You tell me, I'll plant it. Zishang didn't want Yunjoga to touch the dirty mud. First, rub a few layers of mud evenly on the cave walls, Yunjoga said. This is easy, there's no need for Master Yi Zi to do it herself. I'll do it. If there's anything wrong, Miss Yun, you can tell me. Zhe was smart for once. He was excited to plant the food himself. Okay, you do it. Yunjoga nodded. This was easy. Zishang didn't have to do it himself. Zhe quickly rubbed the mud on the cave walls. It looked very even. Okay, that's it. Yunjoga saw that the thickness was about right and quickly stopped Zhe. She ground some of the moss into powder and sprinkled it evenly on the soil. She said, continue to spread it. Zhe rubbed 2 more layers. The entire cave was filled with the smell of wet mud. That's it. If it's dry tomorrow morning, sprinkle some water. It'll grow in 2 days at most. Yunjoga didn't use her with spirit power on the moss. After all, they were going to plant eating grass later. They had to be frugal. 2 more days. Zhe was a little disappointed. He thought it would grow out immediately like grass. 2 days is very fast. Leave the moss first. We'll go plant eating grass now. Yunjoga's words got Zhe's attention. Okay. Zhe nodded and then asked hesitantly, will the grass grow out immediately like the Nagas? Shut up, Zhe. Elder Bai picked up a stone from the ground and threw it at Zhe. He said angrily, it's already a great gift for Miss Yun to help us grow food. How dare you ask for more? I'm just asking. Zhe shrunk his head and didn't dare to make a sound. Food was too important. The sooner he saw the grass grow, the better he would be. Don't worry, it will grow out immediately, just like the snake men. Yunjoga only planned to use his wood power here with the eagle men tribe one more time. He wouldn't be able to do the same to any other tribe he came to seek shelter with. Great, thank you, Miss Yun. Zhe burst into joy. Then let's go. Yunjoga had originally wanted the eagle tribe to carry her around the cliff, but Zishang had snatched this job away. In Zishang's eyes, Yunjoga was fragile. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he did not want her to take the risk. Scatter it evenly. Yunjoga gave the grass seeds to Zishang. She trusted him wholeheartedly. Zishang didn't say anything. This little thing was too easy for her. After 1 round, the grass powder was scattered all over the cliff. Yunjoga tricked and coaxed some more plant essence from the cute baby and used it on these grass seeds. A large patch of yellow grass spread on the gray cliff. It was extremely shocking. The Eagle Men tribe shouted excitedly. Cheerful shouts and laughter rang out incessantly. Gua, do you see? We won't have to worry about food anymore. The child will definitely be born well, a goose said happily while hugging Gua. Emichum. Gua smiled shyly, showing her 2 rabbit teeth. She stared at the long yellow grass outside without blinking. There was so much food. The Eagle Men tribe couldn't finish it at all. It would be great if she could bring some for her tribe. They would definitely love it. As soon as the idea popped up in Gua's mind, she gave it up. She was already with a Gu. She should think about the Eagle Men tribe. Otherwise, it would only bring trouble to a Gu. Yunjioga planted all the grass and instructed the Eagle Men to harvest it. Soon, the Eagle Men weaved a rope ladder out of the silk grass and animal skins and tied it firmly to the tree at the top of the cliff. After that, they hung a basket made of grass and an animal skin bag on their chests and hung it on the rope ladder, harvesting the plants. After one batch was harvested, the other batch started digging the potatoes. They were not slow either. While the Eagle Men tribe was harvesting the grass, Yunjioga and Fei Fei extracted the death aura from Shui and the other young Eagle Men. The devil chi on their bodies was lighter than that of the little serpent men. After pulling out part of the devil chi, they would immediately recover. Shui could even flap his little wings and fly low in the cave, happily flying around him up and down. You must be tired too. Go back and rest. Zishang said firmly to Yunjioga with a gentle attitude. Yes, Miss Yun, Master Yi Zi, go back and rest. Don't tire yourself out. Elder Bai nodded. Yunjioga also felt sore all over. She nodded and returned to Dummy's nest under the protection of Zhe and military advisor. Although Zhe really wanted to stay at Eagle Cliff and harvest the grass with everyone, he reluctantly gave up when he thought of Elder Bai's warning. The most important person in the entire secret realm was Yunjioga. As long as she was here, food wouldn't be a problem. Without her, the orc race would return to the poor and hungry state of the past. It might even be more difficult. Thinking of this, Zhe wanted to stay by Yunjioga's bed every night. Okay, you can go back. We don't need you here. Yunjioga waved the overly enthusiastic Zhe and military advisor away. Okay, then I'll go. Miss Yun, if you need anything, you must tell us immediately. We'll stay on the cliff, Zhe ordered again and again. F***ck off. In the end, Zishang kicked him away. Zhe flapped his wings and flew around the entrance of the cave, feeling wronged. Seeing that Zishang looked like he was going to kill him if he didn't get lost, he finally left with the military counselor. Yunjioga sat on the ground without a care for her image. She didn't feel it before, but now that she breathed a sigh of relief, she suddenly felt very tired. She couldn't even lift her arms. Do you want me to get you some water for a bath? Zishang walked behind Yunjioga and massaged her shoulders. Yunjioga was a little tempted, but when she saw the empty nest, she immediately shook her head. Never mind, we can't be too particular now. Take Dummy out and let me see how it is. Chapter 505. Zishang took Dummy out of the spirit beast bag when he heard that. Dummy was sleeping soundly, its belly rising and falling slightly. It kept smacking its beak in its dream. Who knew what delicious food it was dreaming of? Yunjioga opened her spirit eye and looked closely at Dummy's sea of consciousness. There was no sign of demonic chi reviving. Fatty Dummy, wake up. Yunjioga sighed and rubbed Dummy's hair before putting it back into the spirit beast bag. Rest, we still have to go negotiate with the Eagle Men tomorrow. Zishang hugged Yunjioga and laid down. Then, he told her about his plan. If we want to take over the tribes in this secret realm, it's best to start small. That way, it won't attract Nangong Yu's attention. Also, the Eagle Men have many herbivorous beasts as partners. These beasts are the weaker group in the secret realm. They're in the most difficult situation right now, so I want to start with them. Okay. Yunjioga nodded. For some reason, she thought of the long-eared, red-eyed rabbit girl and said, how about we start with the rabbit tribe? Okay, I'll let advisor Nze ask tomorrow. It didn't matter which tribe Zishang started with. They had to be subdued in the end anyway. Okay. Yunjioga slowly closed her eyes and breathed heavily. Then, she fell into a deep sleep. Zishang kissed Yunjioga's forehead and placed his hand on her stomach. There was no movement there. It was as though the little egg was asleep. If only you were really the son of life. Zishang sighed silently in his heart. Then, he pulled Yunjioga into his arms and closed his eyes. The next morning, Yunjioga woke up energetically. After washing up, she went to Eagle Cliff with Zishang. Yesterday, the rock wall was still yellow, but today, it was completely bare, leaving only faint yellow grass roots. You guys cut it overnight? Yunjioga asked advisor. Emicham Elderby was worried that a long night would bring trouble. Advisor nodded. After hearing that the grass rice and grass potatoes could be stored for a long time, Elderby made a prompt decision to have the clansmen harvest overnight. After distributing the grass rice and grass potatoes according to the number of people, the rest were stored in the warehouse for winter storage. Then sprinkle more water and let them grow faster. Yunjioga could understand the eagle race's actions. In fact, she was considering whether she should find a plane to plant a large amount of food and hoard it. She could use it as a weapon to rope in the smaller tribes. However, this involved management and storage, so he had to discuss it with the Eagle tribe and the Naga tribe. I'll go get the people to sprinkle water now. Advisor, send Lady Yun to Elderby. Zay had been thinking about the harvest last night and couldn't wait to leave. The military counselor sent Yunjioga into Elderby's lair. He noticed that the thick mud he had touched yesterday had grown a layer of grayish-green moss, which shone with a faint light. It grew out so quickly. The military counselor was very happy. He couldn't help but want to break off a piece and have a taste. Kid, don't move. Elderby rushed out and pushed his hand away. Then, he said excitedly to Yunjioga, Lady Yun, this moss is really good. There's actually salt in it. Is salt very important? Yunjioga was shocked. Did the orcs need to eat salt too? Of course it's important. Things with salt can give us strength and courage. In the past, we traded with the sea race, but ever since the Black Rain, death swamps have appeared everywhere. Even our eaglemen race doesn't dare to fly there. Everyone is eating the coarse salt that was stored before. If we can't find a substitute, all the orcs will probably have to risk their lives to cross the death swamp. Elderby looked at Yunjioga with admiration. He wanted to kneel down and kiss her toes. He thought the moss was just a backup food. He didn't expect there to be salt. This was a lifesaver. Do you think we can use these two things to rope in other tribes? Yunjioga didn't expect the moss to have such a magical effect. This was not bad. Of course. Not to mention making them submit, even making them swear a blood oath of lifelong loyalty is not a problem. Elderby's tone was not exaggerated at all. In the current situation of the secret realm, those who could feed were the mothers, and those who could provide food were the fathers. Not to mention, Yunjioga could also help solve the problem of cubs and death chi. Yunjioga was now their god. Even he was willing to swear a blood oath, let alone the other orcs. There's no need to swear a blood oath. Go ask the partners of the Eagle tribe if there are any tribes that are willing to follow me. If there are, we can go find them. Yunjioga didn't hesitate to enslave others. She preferred mutual benefits. There's no need to ask. I can guarantee that they are willing. Right now, the closest tribes to our Eagle tribe are the Ox tribe and the Horse tribe. Which one do you want to go to first? Elderby asked. What about the Rabbit tribe? Zishang was still thinking about Yunjioga's words last night. The Rabbit tribe is a bit further away, but it shouldn't be a problem. How about I have a Gubringwa up now? Elderby was very proactive. Their Eagle tribe was the first to swear loyalty to Yunjioga. In the future, all the tribes that submitted would be under them. He had to stabilize this advantage in the early stages. There's no hurry. I still have something to discuss with you. Yunjioga wanted to find a place to plant grass and stock up on food. Elder Bai pondered for a moment, then asked, Miss Yun, do you want to build a tribe and let all the beast men live together and manage them together? If that was the case, it would be good too. With the current situation in the mystic realm, they needed to be united. Otherwise, those tribes might seem to submit on the surface, but they would have to rush them, threaten them, and even bribe them. It would be a waste of time. That's not what I mean. How much godly power would it take to build a tribe that could accommodate all the orcs? She wasn't in the mood for that right now. We want to build a city of orcs and manage all the orcs, Zishang suddenly said. Yunjioga's eyes widened as she looked at Zishang. She almost blurted out, Are you crazy? How could it be easy to build a city without demonic power? What do you mean by a city? Elder Bai was confused and didn't understand. It's a tribe built from earth. There are high walls and a moat outside. There are also houses for you to live in. Zishang gave a simple description. There's actually such a safe place? Elder Bai's eyes lit up, but they quickly dimmed. Such a city must be very difficult to build. Lady Yizi, winter is coming. The most important thing for us now is to stock up on food. I'm afraid we don't have the time to help you complete such a great mission. Chapter 506. You don't have to worry about that. I have a way to build the city. You just have to subdue the nearby tribes as soon as possible. I hope that all the beast men in this mystic realm can live in my city before winter arrives, Zishang said calmly. Yes, don't worry, Lady Yizi. We will definitely complete the task. Although Elder Bai didn't trust him, she still agreed solemnly. Yizi, come here. I have something to discuss with you. Yunjioga couldn't sit still. She felt that Zishang was joking. Take your time to discuss. I still have something to take care of. I'll be leaving first. Elder Bai flew out of her lair. Zishang, do you know what you're saying? Yunjioga looked at Zishang in disbelief. Of course. Zishang nodded. Then what do you plan to use to build the city? Is my divine power not enough to save people? Even if Yunjioga had excess divine power, she would use it to plant crops. That was what the beast men needed the most now. There's no need for you. Just leave Yin Shirley to me. Zishang had thought it through before saying such a thing. You want him to use Yin Qi to build the city? Yunjioga frowned. Although Yin Shirley was a gold core, he was greatly restricted when he entered the mystic realm. He probably didn't have the strength to do this. I want him to build a city made of earth, not a spirit city. It won't take much effort. The city Zishang wanted to build was a wall made of earth and a deep moat. The beast men could find a way to build the houses inside. It wouldn't be a problem at all. All right. Since you're confident, go ahead and try. Yunjioga passed the corpse refining bag to Zishang. She believed that Zishang wouldn't do something he wasn't confident in. Aren't you coming with me? Zishang frowned. We're not kids anymore. Do we have to play with mud hand in hand? You do your thing and I'll do mine. Let's settle things quickly and find Li Wei, Yunjioga said impatiently. Then be careful. Splitting up was the best solution. Zishang couldn't refuse. Oh, by the way, where are the seeds of the grass eaters? Yunjioga asked. I still have a use for them. Even if you go to the tribe now, you can't help them plant grass right away. Bring some food to help them first. It would be best if they could voluntarily come to you. Otherwise, why would they come to you when they had food and water? I got it. Go do what you need to do. Yunjioga waved his hand to chase him away. The most important thing was to hurry up and return. Then I'll go now, Zishang shouted towards the cliff. Ah Zai, come here. Master Yizi has something to say. Yizi flew over with a potato in her mouth. Take me out for a spin. Zishang grabbed Zhe's feet and left the lair with him. Elder Bai only came in after Zishang had left. He wanted to ask but was too embarrassed to do so. Yi Zi has gone to build a city. I'll stay here and help you reclaim the tribe. What about Guo Er? Have you told her? I've talked to her. She said that she can represent her tribe and pledge her loyalty to you. She hopes that you can save her tribe as soon as possible, Elder Bai said. Guo Er was an orphan who had been raised by her clansmen since she was a child. Her clan had been ambushed by a pack of jackals and wolves, and she had accidentally fallen into the river when she was escaping. That was how Agu had saved her. Let's go now. Yunjioga couldn't bear it when he thought about the suffering of those gentle and weak little rabbit girls. Indeed, cuteness was the way to go. Elder Bai had originally wanted to tag along, but Yunjioga had strictly forbidden him from staying at Eagle Cliff to manage the situation and take a good rest. The military counselor nodded his head repeatedly. In the end, he brought Agu, Ah Ping, Ah Hui, and the other eagle men with him. Each eagle man carried a bag of about 30 grass potatoes and a bag of green moss. These were all food for the rabbit men. Agu didn't want to bring Guo along, but Guo insisted on going. She was usually very gentle, but when she became stubborn, even Agu couldn't do anything about it. He could only come to consult the military counselor. Of course, the military counselor didn't agree. In his heart, a pregnant female would only be a burden. Bringing her along would just be looking for trouble. In the end, Yunjioga examined Guo Er and found that her fetus was stable and wouldn't affect her mobility. The military counselor reluctantly agreed. Tell me if you're not feeling well, understand? Don't hold it in. Yunjioga looked at Guo Er's long and soft ears and really wanted to touch them, but to maintain his cold image, he didn't. Thank you, Miss Yun. Guo Er nodded shyly and fearfully. She also knew that she might cause trouble if she went along, but she really missed her clansmen who had taken care of her growing up, so she could only be willful for once. Ah Gu, take care of Guo Er. Don't let her fall, the military counselor ordered. Don't worry, she's safe. Gu took out a rope made of silk grass and tied Guo Er firmly to his chest. Only then did the military counselor and Ah Hui carry Yunjioga and fly in front. The other eagle men flew vigilantly beside them. The territory of the rabbit men used to be in the east of the grassland. After the disaster of the Black Rain, most of the grassland had been abandoned. They could only migrate to the mountains that still had some green left. Our clansman's territory is over there, Guo Er said while pointing at a small mound full of weeds from above. Let's go down, Yunjioga ordered. The military counselor brought the eagle men and Guo Er to the small mound. Chief Grandmother, Elder Ah Lang, I've brought some people to bring you food, Guo Er shouted. However, the small mound was strangely xiet. A breeze with a faint deathly aura blew past, and the half-yellow and half-green weeds kept swaying. Xiao Xia, Xiao Bai. Guo Er turned over the caves that were full of weeds one by one, but she didn't find any trace of her clansmen. She was so anxious that her forehead was covered in sweat. Yunjioga, the military counselor, and the other eagle men also searched everywhere, but they didn't find anything either. Don't panic, Guo Er. Maybe they're migrating again? Gu felt sorry for the panicking Guo Er and wiped her sweat. No, if they're migrating, they'll definitely leave a mark for other clansmen. Guo Er shook her head, and her little face was pale. I'm guessing that they were attacked. Yunjioga walked out of a cave at this time, holding a half-eaten carrot in his hand. Guo Er could smell the blood on the carrot. It was the scent of her clansmen. Her body couldn't help but shake, and she fainted after rolling her eyes. Guo Er, what's wrong with you? Gu screamed in fear, and quickly held her limp body. Don't be nervous. She just fainted because she was too excited. Help her into the cave to rest, Yunjioga comforted Gu. Hurry up and go in. The military counselor frowned. He didn't agree to bring Gua here before. She was indeed a failure. Gu didn't have time to thank him. He quickly carried Gua into the cave. Military counselor, what do you think about this? Yunjioga asked the military counselor. Chapter 507. I guess they migrated again after being discovered by the jackals and wolves. After the black rain, food became scarce, and many beasts were starving. The rabbit tribe was targeted once before, so it's very likely that they will be targeted again, military counselor analyzed cautiously. In the past, there was plenty of food in the Mystic Land, so the beasts were not very willing to fight the orcs. Now that the disaster of the black rain was over, the starving beasts became extremely ferocious. Sometimes, even the eagle tribe had to avoid them. What you said is very likely. Can you find the direction in which they migrated? Yunjioga asked. They seem to have left for a while, so it's a little difficult to find them. Military counselor paused and then said, and I don't understand why you are so obsessed with the rabbit tribe. If it was because of Gua's pregnancy, the other eagle tribe's partners were also pregnant. The ox tribe and the horse tribe were also very pitiful, and they were also waiting for their rescue. Compared to the rabbit tribe, the ox tribe and the horse tribe were stronger and more capable. Military counselor did not understand why Yunjioga wanted to go further. Because I don't like to give up halfway. At first, Yunjioga did choose to come here because she thought the rabbit tribe was very cute. But after seeing the scene in front of her, she felt that the rabbit tribe did not migrate because of the threat of the jackals and wolves. There must be other reasons. At this time, Gua walked out of the cave with the help of Agu, holding a wooden board the size of a nameplate in her hand. She said to Yunjioga, Miss Yun, my tribe did not migrate, but encountered a sudden disaster. Look at this board, it's a sign to tell us to run away. Yunjioga took the brown board and found that it was broken and had a bite mark with blood on it, which looked like it was bitten by a rabbit. This is the board that our chief always carries with him. He must have bitten off this wooden board to warn us before he was injured. Gua held back her tears and pleaded to Yunjioga, Miss Yun, I know my request is very rude, but I beg you to save my tribe. They are very capable and kind people, and they will definitely be of great help to you in the future. Gua was very nervous when she said this. The only advantage of the rabbit tribe was that they could hear far and run fast, but they were far worse than the eagle tribe and the snake tribe. She wondered if Miss Yun would like them. These grasses were planted by your rabbit tribe? Yunjioga suddenly glanced at the incomparably dense wild grass. It was clearly much more exuberant than other places. Gua was stunned. She nodded and said, yes, we transplanted fresh weeds from other places and planted them in front of the cave. We also opened up a piece of land at the back to plant carrots for the kids. Yunjioga glanced at the carrot in his hand, and his heart instantly bloomed with joy. These rabbit people were definitely talented at planting. Miss Yun, being attacked is just Gua's guess. I still think they have migrated, so there's no need to waste time looking for them. Military counselor insisted. Even if they have migrated, I will still have to find them. They are very important to me. If you guys are unwilling, then have the Naga race bring them here, Yunjioga said calmly. She was preparing to plant food on a large scale, and these rabbit men were definitely the best choice. However, Yunjioga did not intend to explain these things right now. He wanted to see how obedient the eagle men were. Miss Yun, if you want to find them, even if the rabbit tribe goes to the ends of the earth, I will find them. Military counselor quickly expressed his stance. He had no intention of disobeying Yunjioga. Yunjioga was quite satisfied with military counselor's attitude. Then let's split into 4 groups and each go in one direction. How about it? Military counselor said, resigned to his fate. The rabbit tribe's tutorial was very fast, and they had always been cunning. It would take a lot of effort to find them. No need. Yunjioga shook his head, then patted the spirit beast bag and released the treasure-seeking scorpion. Master, did you send me here to look for treasures? Oh my god, what is this place? Why is it so smelly? The treasure-seeking scorpion, which had just crawled out of the secret realm, almost fell over due to the stench of death. This is the forbidden spirit land. Can you help me find the owner of this carrot? Yunjioga placed the carrot in front of the treasure-seeking scorpion, completely treating it like a dog. I'll try. The treasure-seeking scorpion hadn't received Yunjioga's summons for a long time, so it didn't dare to relax even if it was a small matter. The treasure-seeking scorpion used its pincers to bite off a small piece of the carrot and chewed it. Then, it drilled into the ground and circled around randomly. When it came out, it said to Yunjioga, I found the smell of the carrot, but they came from the cave. You guys can't go in here. Yunjioga thought about the tunnels in the cave that extended in all directions like marmots. She had thought that those tunnels were used to store food. Could they be used to escape? But those tunnels were so small. How could the rabbit tribe pass through? Yunjioga couldn't help but look at Gua, who was short but had the height of a normal woman, in surprise. Gua, who felt Yunjioga's gaze, clenched her teeth and said, Miss Yun, actually, the rabbit tribe can completely transform into the shape of a rabbit. Impossible. Before Yunjioga could say anything, military counselor couldn't help but say, only the prince of the eagle tribe can completely transform. Gua. Gu looked at his partner in a daze. He suddenly remembered the first time they met. He had found a white rabbit. He wanted to catch the rabbit, but it had kicked him away. When he flew back, the little rabbit was gone, and only Gua was lying unconscious on the ground. Gua bit her lips and didn't say anything. Then, her body suddenly emitted an extremely faint golden light. With a bang, Gua disappeared, leaving behind a cute rabbit on the ground. It had white fluffy fur, long ears, red eyes, and a three-petaled mouth. It was the most ordinary rabbit form. Gua. Yunjioga held the soft rabbit up in surprise. The rabbit nodded and said, Miss Yun, we didn't mean to hide it from you. It's just that Grandmother Chief said that we can't let outsiders know about this ability. Otherwise, we will be treated as ordinary rabbits and eaten. Your Grandmother Chief is right. Yunjioga smiled and opened his spirit eye. He carefully observed Gua, who was in the beast form. He saw that Gua's body was shrouded in an extremely faint golden light. Although there was also a sea of consciousness, it was extremely faint. Compared to Dummy, it was like a drop of water compared to a plate of water. Even so, Yunjioga was still very excited. As long as he found the rabbit tribe chief and waited for Dummy to wake up, there might be a way to dispel this mysterious power. Chapter 508. Gua, don't worry. I will definitely save your people. You can return to your original form. Yunjioga stroked Gua's soft white fur and pinched her long ears. Finally, it was complete. No, I'm going to go through the tunnel with that big scorpion to find my people. Gua shook her head firmly. But you're pregnant. It was too dangerous. Miss Yun, if I were still in the form of a rabbit person, it would be hard for me to move while I'm pregnant. However, once I'm in the form of a rabbit, I feel like I have infinite power. You can see if you don't believe me. Gua suddenly jumped and landed on the ground. Then, she turned into a white shadow and traveled through the rabbit person's cave. 3 seconds later, there were a lot of things in front of Yunjioga. There were wood chips, stones, arrowheads, and a small blood-stained hide dress. Gua found them in the most secluded place in the cave. This is Xiaoxia's favorite hide dress. Gua pressed the hide with her front paw. With tears in her red eyes, she said, if they really planned to migrate, they would have taken these with them. It's okay. We're going to save your people now. Military counselor, go into the first level of alert. If you find any strange orcs nearby, catch them and bring them to me immediately. Yunjioga looked serious. The golden light on Guo was as rare as Dummy's. Those who attacked them must have done it for this mysterious power. Yes, military counselor answered without hesitation. The other eagle people didn't have any objections. Treasure hunting scorpion, take this rabbit into the tunnel and find the direction in which the rabbit person left. Be careful. Show your head every mile. Can you do that? Yunjioga asked seriously. Of course. My big pincers are not for show. Treasure hunting scorpion waved its strong pincers. When it was just a small scorpion, it didn't have Earth's spiritual power, so it had to dig holes with its big pincers. It was no slower than marmots. Gua, you have to be careful. If you find anything wrong, ask treasure hunting scorpion to bring you out immediately. Safety first, understand? Yunjioga reminded Gua. Although Gua was stronger than usual in her rabbit person form, she was pregnant after all. It would be troublesome if something went wrong. Don't worry, Miss Yun. I'll be careful. Gua nodded. In fact, she didn't tell Yunjioga one thing. After she was pregnant, she found her rabbit person form was stronger than before, as if there was a source of power in her belly. Although Yunjioga was a good person, she didn't dare to tell him. She was afraid that her child would be hurt. Counselor, find an eagle man with the sharpest eyes to keep a close eye on the ground and monitor the movements of the treasure-seeking scorpion, Yunjioga said to the counselor. Ah, Gray's eyes are the sharpest. Let him observe. The military advisor recommended Aqua's father, the cold-looking eagleman Gray with a scar on his face. Hui did not speak, it maintained its usual cold attitude, but it was very glad that this scorpion was fat and big enough, and its color was also very dazzling. Otherwise, no matter how sharp its eyes were, it would not be able to do anything. Yunjioga had said everything he needed to say, so he ordered, "Good, let's go now." The treasure-hunting scorpion twisted its stinger and drilled into the hole below. Gua followed it closely and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Zay and Ping helped Yunjioga up. Ash, on the other hand, flew high up in the sky, its sharp eyes constantly scanning the mottled ground. Not long after, it saw a purple scorpion head emerge from the ground in the east. It subconsciously wanted to pounce on it and eat it. Fortunately, the scorpion quickly retracted its head. Only then did he realize that it was not food but a companion. He hurriedly shook his head and shouted in a calm tone, "They're over there." Then he chased after them with Yunjioga and the military counselor. Just like that, Yunjioga and the others chased the treasure-seeking scorpion to a cliff. The treasure-seeking scorpion finally showed its head completely, and so did Gua. Yunjioga and the others quickly landed beside them and asked, "What's wrong?" "The smell ends here." The treasure-seeking scorpion pointed to a round hole behind it and said, "It's very likely that they left after climbing out from here." Yunjioga looked around and saw a large piece of black land in the west. There was not much grass, and the swamp of death was not far away. Even the eaglemen didn't dare to fly over the swamp of death, let alone the rabbit men. She turned to look at the east. There was a very high cliff, even steeper than Eagle Cliff. There were not even many protruding rocks. The rabbit men didn't have wings, so they would fall to their deaths. "Miss Yun, there are no traces of the rabbit men nearby." Ash flapped its wings and landed in front of Yunjioga. The military counselor really wanted to say that the fat scorpion might have led them the wrong way, but he didn't dare to say it. Yunjioga didn't doubt the treasure-seeking scorpion at all. Although it couldn't use its spirit power now, it wouldn't be a problem for it to track the smell. She was just about to ask Gua what she thought when she suddenly sped up and rushed toward the cliff like a white shadow. Gua. Gu was so scared that his soul was about to leave his body. He flapped his wings and chased after her. However, he saw Gua jump toward the cliff. Her forelimbs immediately spread out, and the hair under her armpits fluttered in the wind. She actually spun on the cliff and landed on the cliff wall. Then, she kicked with her hind legs, rolled, and bounced into an inconspicuous cave on the cliff wall. Gua. Gu flapped his wings and paced back and forth at the entrance of the cave. Unfortunately, the cave entrance was too small, and he couldn't even stick his head in. Let a Gu come back. There's no rush. Yunjioga could already tell that the cave was very likely the place where the remaining members of the rabbit men settled down. Rabbits were very timid. Although Guo was around, it would definitely take a long time to convince them. A Gu would only scare them if he was there. The military counselor personally flew over to drag a Gu, who didn't want to leave, back. Yunjioga looked at the dejected Gu and felt that it was funny. Guo just went in to persuade her clansmen, but in the end, he looked like he was abandoned. It could be seen that the relationship between the two was really good. Miss Yun, it's getting dark. We have to find a safe place to stay, the military counselor said to Yunjioga. He already realized that they were going to fight a protracted war with the rabbit men. Then find a suitable cave on the cliff and take a look. It was very dark here at night, and it was too dangerous to spend the night on the open grassland. Miss Yun, I saw a very good cave just now. It's just beside Gua Bear's cave, a Gu said immediately. All right, military counselor, go and take a look. If it's suitable, we'll stay. Yunjioga nodded. It was good to be closer to the cave of the rabbit men. Chapter 509. Military counselor quickly flew over to check the cave that Agu mentioned. When he came back, he was a little troubled. The cave is a little small. It's not easy to live in. It's fine, as long as it's habitable. This was not the time to pursue comfort and spaciousness. You should go and take a look first. Military counselor and a gray brought Yunjioga to the cave. The cave was actually very wide, but it was not deep enough. Sitting inside, the mountain wind blew. It was not a good place to rest. Why don't we change to another one? Agu felt a little guilty. In order to be closer to Gua, he was willing to live in any shabby place. However, he felt bad for making Miss Yun feel so wronged. It's fine, it's quite good. Yunjioga shook her head, then said to Agu, Gua, must be hungry after being tired for so long. Why don't you throw a bag of grass potatoes in, then find something nearby to start a bonfire and boil some hot water. That way, she can drink hot water when she comes out. Miss Yun is right. Agu's eyes immediately lit up. He flew to the cave entrance and threw the bag of grass potatoes and moss in, then shouted, Gua, is for you. Very quickly, a white furry claw reached out from the cave entrance and dragged the bag in with a swish. Agu laughed foolishly, then eagerly flew out to find some dried branches and leaves to start a fire. Military counselor, send someone to find some silk grass to weave into curtains to block the wind. Also, go and find some jade grass that can stop bleeding. There must be someone in the rabbit tribe who is injured. It will be useful later. Her panacea was limited in this place. It was better to use local herbs to treat ordinary wounds. A ping and a phone, you two go. Military counselor turned around and ordered the two eaglemen behind him. Yes. The two young eaglemen immediately flapped their wings and left. I'll go out and see what's going on below. Gray was a cautious person. Every time he went to a strange place, he had to investigate the surroundings clearly before he could feel at ease. Go, be careful. Pay attention to our movements at all times. Come back when you hear shouts, military counselor instructed. Okay. Gray nodded, then flapped his wings and went down the cliff. Miss Yun, are you cold? The military counselor spread his wings and blocked the entrance of the cave to block the wind, but the howling wind still blew the hair in front of Yunjioga's forehead into a mess. No. Yunjioga shook her head. She didn't feel cold yet, but it would be hard to say later. We'll wait for Hoodlum and the rest to bring the silk grass back. After saying this, the military counselor fell silent for a moment before asking Yunjioga cautiously, how is His Highness? It's fine. Yunjioga took Dummy out of the spirit beast bag. The chubby dummy still looked like he was sleeping soundly. His big, furry face was full of happiness, which made people's teeth itch. Miss Yun, is it true that His Royal Highness will wake up in 6 days? The military counselor had always remembered what Yun Jioga had said. 1 day had been taken away yesterday, so there were still 6 days left. Actually, 6 days is still too long. If possible, I hope he can wake up earlier. She had a bad feeling about the rabbit tribe being hunted down today. If these pursuers were also sent by Nangongyu, then she had definitely entered this Arcana land for that mysterious power. She had only just discovered that others had already begun to plunder. This feeling was really uncomfortable. He will definitely wake up. The military counselor nodded vigorously, then reached out and secretly plucked a strand of His Royal Highness but hair, hoping to wake him up earlier. Dummy kicked its fat legs in dissatisfaction, then turned over to continue sleeping unhappily. Don't touch him. Yun Jioga rolled her eyes at the military counselor, then kept Fatty Dummy. Since you have nothing better to do, why don't you help me get a big rock? I want to make some stone bowls. Yun Jioga said to the military counselor. They had only brought food with them, not those heavy tools. I don't have nothing better to do, I want to protect you. The military counselor emphasized seriously, then shouted to Gray at the bottom of the cliff, get me a rock. Miss Yun wants to make stone bowls. Very soon, Ash came up with a big rock. What's at the bottom of the cliff? Yun Jioga asked as she gestured on the rock. Just some broken rocks and a dead end. There's nothing special. I'll go get some water. Gray just couldn't do it, so she flew out of the cave after saying that. Yun Jioga took out the evil blade that had already become scrap metal, and started to cut on the gray rock. In the end, she made a big stone bowl, 5 small stone bowls, and some waste. What is this? It's too powerful. The military counselor stared at Yun Jioga's hand in shock. Such a hard rock was even more fragile than dirt under her hand. This is called a blade. Yun Jioga showed the evil blade. Fortunately, the material of the evil blade had a special effect on rocks. Otherwise, it would have been useless if it had been any other spiritual weapon. This is the legendary divine weapon. The military counselor looked at the rusty evil blade with a face full of admiration. You're thinking too much. This can only be used to cut rocks. By the way, what kind of weapons do the Eagle clan usually use? Yun Jioga asked again. Nangongyu hadn't come looking for them yet. When she showed her power, there would definitely be a battle. As a fighting clan, the Eagle clan would definitely be on the battlefield. We usually use spears to kill our enemies when we dive down, the military counselor said proudly. The Eagle clan was very powerful when they dived down. Even the big brown bear in the mystic realm could be killed. I thought you guys knew how to use crossbows. Yun Jioga was a little surprised. The Eagle clan could fly and were natural archers. As long as they flew far away to fight monsters, who could get close to them? We don't know how to make crossbows. The military counselor shook his head. You guys have been fighting with the Naga for so long. Haven't you snatched a few back to try? Yun Jioga asked. We did, but the Naga's crossbows are all specially made. They can only fly from the bottom up. We can't shoot from the bottom down. The military counselor had a look of pity. It wasn't easy for him to snatch a crossbow, but it was useless. They actually have crossbows like that. Yun Jioga hadn't paid attention to the Naga's crossbows before. He thought they were just ordinary goods. The oracle said that they have customized many weapons for all the major clans. She also said that as long as the Eagle clan defected to them, we would be able to get the most suitable weapons for us. Even if we wanted to dominate the mystic realm, it wouldn't be a problem. When the military counselor spoke, there was a hint of yearning in his voice. However, it quickly turned into hatred. As a warrior, he naturally hoped to get a powerful weapon that suited him. However, whenever he thought about how the oracle had made these things to make the beast men kill each other, he felt extreme hatred. Chapter 5:10. It's fine. I'll get Yi Zi to make a set of weapons for you when we get back. I guarantee it'll be 10,000 times more powerful than the fake oracles. Yin Jioge wasn't bragging. From the moment Zi Shang said he wanted to build a city, she knew he was going to do something big. Weapons were definitely the most important. This was the difference between Yin Jioge and Zi Shang. She was more concerned about the health of the orcs and wanted to do something good for this mystic realm. Zi Shang, on the other hand, was thinking about how to use the orcs to quickly achieve his goal. Fortunately, their thoughts weren't in conflict. They could even complement each other. Lord Yi Zi even knows how to make weapons? That's really amazing. The military advisor's face immediately lit up. His admiration for Yi Zi was rising again. There's nothing he doesn't know. When Yin Jioge said this, she was proud, as if she was the amazing person. She chatted with military counselor for a while and realized the light was dimming. The sky was getting darker. Night was coming. Why aren't Ah Fei and Ah Ping back yet? Yin Jioge looked outside worriedly. I'll go take a look. Military counselor flew out of the cave and quickly returned with Ah Fei and Ah Ping. The two of them carried bundles of silk grass. However, there were pitifully few jade grass hanging on them. It's very empty here. We flew for a long time before we found this much, Ah Fei said guiltily. It's fine. This is enough. Yin Jioge took the jade grass and put it aside. Quickly weave a curtain to block the wind. Military counselor picked up the silk grass and quickly weaved it. Ah Ping and Ah Fei sat beside him and quickly weaved. Soon, Ah Hui and Ah Gu returned. Ah Gu carried a huge bundle of dried branches on his back. Ah Hui slowly filled a bag of clean water with a beast skin bag. Yin Jioge took the bag and poured half of the water into the stone bowl. With Ah Gu and Ah Hui's help, the curtain was quickly weaved. It was as dense as 2 green door panels. Military counselor even made a few holes on the curtain for easy observation and ventilation. Then, he flew out of the cave and nailed it. The wind was indeed much weaker. The military counselor lifted the curtain and returned to the cave. Ah Hui had already used the remaining stones of Yin Jioge to make a square stove and started the bonfire. The cold cave immediately became warm. The 5 eagle men crowded at the entrance of the cave, leaving the spacious space inside for Yin Jioge. Yin Jioge didn't say anything. He placed the stone bowl on the stove and poured the dried grass and beef into it, preparing to cook the meat porridge. The light yellow rice rolled up and down in the boiling water, and the brown jerky stewed until it was soft. Yin Jioge took out a wooden spoon from the cloth bag and stirred it to prevent it from sticking to the bottom of the pot. The fragrance of the meat porridge spread in the cave. Even the military counselor could not help but drool. Since the disaster of the Black Rain, they had not had a proper meal of meat. Although they were already very happy to be able to eat grass rice and grass potatoes to fill their stomachs every day, they were still carnivores. Smelling this kind of meat aroma was simply painful torture. Ah Hui was slightly better. His cold face did not show any expression, but his throat moved slightly. Ah Ping and Ah Feng, the 2 young eagle men, had their eyes fixed on the bowl of meat porridge. Their throats could not help but move up and down, and they were almost drooling. They were really craving it. Miss Yun would definitely not be able to finish such a big bowl. It would be great if she could drink a little when the time came. Even if it was just a taste, it would be good. Aren't you hungry? Why aren't you eating? Yin Jioge asked while stirring. Oh, we'll eat now. The few eagle men took out the dry grass potatoes. Smelling the fragrant meat porridge, it was especially painful to eat. Miss Yun, why aren't you eating? The military counselor found that the porridge was cooked, but Yin Jioge still did not move to eat. I'm not hungry. Yin Jioge shook her head. If you're not hungry, why did you cook such a big bowl of meat porridge? The military counselor did not think that it was cooked for them, or Yin Jioge would have called them over just now. This is for Gua and the rest. Yunjioga put down the spoon and said to a stone wall in the shadow of the corner, "So, have you thought it through? Can you come out and see us now?" Before the military counselor and the rest could react, they heard banging sounds coming from the stone wall. The stone chips shattered, and a tunnel that was about the size of a head appeared in front of them. "Gua!" Agu immediately shouted excitedly. "Agu!" A small white rabbit came out of the tunnel. It was Gua in her beast form. Agu was about to go over, but the military counselor stopped him. "Don't go over." The tunnel was not very spacious. If Agu went over, even Yunjioga would not have a place to sit. "Elder, come out." Gua turned her head and said to the tunnel. Following that, a trembling old rabbit crawled out from the passage, its pair of red eyes filled with wisdom landing on Yunjioga. "Elder, this is Miss Yun that I told you about." "Miss Yun, this is the elder of our rabbit men tribe," Gua introduced. "Hello, elder." Yunjioga smiled and said, "My name is Yunjioga. I came from the outside world." "Miss Yun, why did you come from the outside world to our barren land?" The rabbit elder's voice was different from Elder Bai's. Elder Bai thought about how to lead the Eagle Men tribe to survive every day. His voice always sounded urgent. However, this rabbit elder's voice was very steady. It made people feel that he was an intelligent rabbit. "I came here to look for someone," Yunjioga said seriously. "Who is it?" the rabbit elder asked. "Now is not the time to tell you. I will ask for your help when the time is right." Yunjioga smiled faintly. He did not take the rabbit elder's aggressiveness to heart. "Miss Yun, since you are with the Eagle Men, you should know why their prince can transform into a complete beast form. What do you think?" The rabbit elder changed the topic. Yunjioga thought for a moment and said directly, "The Eagle Prince can transform into a beast form and can even shoot fireballs from his mouth. That is because there is a ball of golden light in his head. The Rabbit Men tribe also has golden light, but it is much less than his. Most of it is distributed in the body and bones. That is why your beast forms are stronger." "You are the most honest person I have ever met," the rabbit elder said emotionally. The rabbit elder sighed. It didn't expect Yunjioga to reveal the truth without any conditions. "This is your Beast Men tribe's business. You have the right to know." Yunjioga thought so. "Thank you." The rabbit elder's attitude was clearly much better. "Then, elder, can you tell me where the golden light on your body comes from?" Yunjioga asked directly. Chapter 5:11. "Why do you want to know the secret of the golden light?" the rabbit elder asked calmly. "I want to obtain the golden light not for myself, but because a demonic aura is spreading in your arcane realm. This demonic aura will turn you into mindless puppets. Only the golden light can save you." Yunjioga told the rabbit elder about the demonic aura and the gaga grass on the orc cubs, as well as the naga auntie. Finally, he said, "If you don't believe me, you can ask Gua, as well as the Eagle Men and the Nagas. Elder, Miss Yun is telling the truth. Miss Yun cured all the kids of the Eagle Man tribe. I saw it with my own eyes," Gua said hurriedly. "You're really a kind person," the rabbit elder praised casually. The rabbit elder praised casually before sighing and saying, "But we don't know where the golden light on our bodies comes from. In fact, I only just found out about this from you. Our tribe has been living in the depths of the grassland. Our ancestors told us to keep this a secret. We can't let outsiders know that we can completely transform into beasts." "Then have you compared the difference between you and other rabbit men?" Yunjioga asked again. "Yes, but we're actually no different from ordinary rabbit men. The food we eat and the environment we live in are the same. We also marry rabbit men from other tribes. The offspring we give birth to can also transform, but they'll be much weaker. We can only transform when it's a matter of life and death," the rabbit elder said. At this point, the rabbit elder's eyes immediately became a little wet. He said, This time, our tribe encountered a great disaster. All the strong tribesmen were captured. Only the old, the weak, the women, and the children escaped through the tunnel. Who captured you? Yunjioga asked solemnly. It was the jackal orcs. At first, they chased ordinary jackals to test us. After we killed those jackals, they didn't do anything. I didn't expect them to be so shameless as to poison the plants we eat. The poison is very strange. The poison tribesmen can't transform, so they can only desperately cover our escape. Resentment flashed in the rabbit elder's red eyes. Because of their ability to transform, they didn't suffer too much damage during the Black Rain disaster. This time, however, most of them were captured because of the jackal orcs. You beast men shouldn't have the ability to poison plants. Yunjioga was sure that it was Nangong Yu's doing. You mean the oracle is the one who commanded it? The military counselor immediately understood. That's very likely. How much do you know about the Knoll tribe? Do you know if they have joined the oracle's camp? Where is their current base? Yunjioga asked. I've never heard of the Knoll tribe joining the oracle's camp. They have always been migrating with their prey. They don't have a fixed settlement. The military counselor shook his head. We, the rabbit folk, have always lived in the depths of the grasslands and have never dealt with the gnolls before. However, the panther race brat had previously brought the oracle's summons, asking us to join the oracle's tribe. Then, he would give us weapons to protect ourselves, but we rejected him. The rabbit elder was a little regretful. If they had known that the tribe would encounter such a calamity, they would have agreed to join the oracle's camp. At the very least, they would have gotten their hands on the weapons first. Elder, don't worry. If the oracle ordered the gnolls to do this, then your people should be fine. Nangong, you only wanted the golden light, not the rabbit meat. Lady Yun, please save our clansmen, Gua said excitedly at the side. Don't worry, I will definitely save them. How many of your people are left? Call them over. Yes, Yunjioga said. My people are very safe now. There's no need to trouble Miss Yun, the rabbit elder said gently. It was obvious that he still did not trust Yunjioga. Elder, I'm willing to save you because I treat you as my people. If you don't trust me, there's no need for me to risk my life for you. Yunjioga really did not have the time to appease the timid and paranoid rabbit folk. The rabbit elder was still a little hesitant. Although Yunjioga seemed like a good person, he did not dare to take the risk if he was not of the same race. Yunjioga did not speak. He directly used his divine power and tapped the stone wall. The stone wall silently disappeared, revealing a group of furry rabbits behind it. The rabbits were jumping around in panic as if they were scared out of their wits. Everyone, don't panic. Miss Yun means us no harm, Gua shouted desperately, but it was to no avail. The rabbit elder did not move at the side. He had no intention of maintaining order. His red eyes did not hide his dissatisfaction towards Yunjioga. Miss Yun. Military counselor stood beside Yunjioga coldly. He was only waiting for her order to capture these ungrateful rabbits. Don't be anxious. Let them jump. Yunjioga was not anxious this time. He turned around and sat down. He called Gua and said, You must be hungry after a long day. Eat something first. With that said, he filled a small stone bowl with meat porridge and handed it to Gua. Gua was originally not in the mood to eat, but she could not stand the aroma. She immediately transformed into her human form and drank in big mouthfuls. She felt as if her internal organs and body were soaking in the hot spring. Perhaps her expression was too blissful. The few little rabbits watching from afar could not help but drool. Xiao Xia, Xiao Ming, come here quickly. It's too delicious. Gua went over and carried the two smallest rabbits over. She let them drink in her bowl. The two palm-sized white rabbits were a little timid at first. However, once they ate the meat porridge, they immediately buried their heads in and ate. The rabbit form had a small appetite. the two little rabbits turned into human forms with a bang. Xiao Xia was a little lowly around 5 years old. She had long hair, a round apple face, and big watery eyes. She was very cute. Xiao Ming looked exactly the same as Xiao Xia. However, his short hair showed that he was a boy. The two of them should be twins. Yunjioga took the opportunity to open his spirit eye to check the two rabbits. He found that they were very healthy. There were no traces of demonic energy or death energy on their bodies. That mysterious golden light was indeed the root of dispelling demonic energy. The beast men were saved. Under the lure of Gua and the two little rabbits, the other rabbits also came over to drink the meat porridge. However, only the children transformed into human forms. The other adults remained in rabbit form and kept a distance from Yunjioga and the others. The rabbit elder still stood proudly on the spot without moving. "Elder, please believe that I have no ill intentions. If I really wanted to do anything to you, I would not need to spend so much effort to help you." Yunjioga handed a bowl of meat porridge to the rabbit elder. Chapter 5:12. Miss Yun, I know you're a good person, but we really don't dare to take the risk anymore. The rabbit elder softened her attitude, but she did not take the meat porridge. "I don't want you to take the risk. Actually, I'm planning to build a city and plant a large amount of food to help you orcs survive the winter. I realize that the rabbit people are very good at farming, so I hope you can go back with me. After I rescue your people, you can reunite." Although Yunjioga sounded very sincere, the rabbit elder was still a little hesitant. "I hope you won't reject my invitation because winter is coming soon. The rabbit people won't be able to survive the current situation." Yunjioga looked at the little rabbit people who were resting after eating and drinking. "Thank you for your invitation, but I can't make a decision on this matter." "Why don't you ask our chief after you rescue her?" the rabbit elder said slyly. "Sure. I saw some injured rabbits. Go and treat them." Yunjioga did not take the opportunity to make a good impression on the injured rabbit people. Instead, she handed the great jade grass to the rabbit elder. "Thank you for the herb." The rabbit elder nodded gratefully. Regardless of whether Yunjioga was a good person or a bad person, at least he was helping them now. "You're welcome." Yunjioga returned to the campfire, added some water to the stone bowl, and continued to cook more meat porridge so that the rabbit people could eat their fill. The next morning, Yunjioga did not leave with the rabbit people immediately. Instead, she let them stay in the cave. She even asked Gray and the others to bring a large number of dry branches. Ah Gu and Gua stayed with them. Ah Hui, you and Ah Fei will look for the place where the gnolls live later. Counselor, Ah Ping, and I will go back to the tribe to discuss with Elder Bai about rescuing the rabbit people, Yunjioga said in front of all the rabbit people. Yes, the eagle men answered at the same time and left the cliff with Yunjioga. Miss Yun, why don't you bring the rabbit people back? Counselor asked in confusion. Bring them to where? Eagle Cliff? Yunjioga glanced at the military counselor and continued, those rabbits are so scared now. They definitely won't be willing to go with us. Secondly, if we bring them around, won't our rabbit forms be exposed? Before we find out the secret of the golden light, we must keep the matter of the rabbit tribe a secret. Do you understand? Don't worry, Miss Yun. We know what's important. The military counselor hurriedly promised, and the other eagle men also agreed. This matter concerns the beast men race. I hope that you will keep your word, Yunjioga said. Then can I tell Elder Bai? Military counselor could not help but ask. I'll talk to him personally. After Yunjioga finished speaking, he turned to look at Ash and Ah Fei. After you find the gnolls' encampment, just wait for me at the rabbit tribe's lair. Yunjioga did this because she did not want to tire them out. Also, if they could not find the lair of the gnolls, she and Zishang could figure it out themselves. Then let's head over now. Ash and Hoodlum turned and flew toward the rabbit tribe's lair. When Yunjioga returned to Eagle Cliff, she saw a few eagle men diligently sprinkling water on the cliff. There were also many eagle men flying around carrying soil, preparing to plant moss in their lair. Seeing Yunjioga return, all the eagle men stopped what they were doing and automatically saluted her. Yunjioga returned all of them with a friendly smile. After flying to Elder Bai's lair, she saw that he was carefully digging out the moss on the cave wall, preparing to transplant it for his people. "Miss Yun, you're back. How's the matter with the rabbit tribe?" Elder Bai was very happy to see Yunjioga. "It's not going well. There's something I need to tell you." Yunjioga told him about the transformation of Dummy and the rabbit tribe's golden power. Actually, Yunjioga had already told Elder Bai about the golden light before. However, the old man was determined that it was a God-given ability, so he did not take it to heart. Now that he heard that the rabbit tribe, which they looked down on the most, had such an ability, he immediately became excited. "Then why didn't you bring that old rabbit back? I'll ask her myself." Elder Bai, in my heart, whether you're herbivorous or carnivorous, strong or weak, you orcs are all the same to me. So I hope you won't look down on them, Yunjioga said seriously. "Miss Yun, you misunderstood me. I'm not looking down on them. In fact, I'm old friends with the rabbit elder, so I'm a little more casual with my words," Elder Bai quickly explained. "Yes, Miss Yun, you see, Gua has been in Eagle Cliff for so long, and we've never treated her as an outsider." The military counselor quickly explained on behalf of his grandfather. "Yes, I know you're all good people. Oh right, one more thing, don't tell anyone about this. Otherwise, the orcs will be in chaos," Yunjioga warned seriously again. "Don't worry, Miss Yun. If they dare to say anything, I'll break their wings." Elder Bai's tone was murderous, so no one doubted his determination. Then, he reported something else to Yunjioga. After he told the eagle partners that Yunjioga wanted to take over the surrounding tribes, those herbivorous orcs immediately urged their partners to send food back to their parents' home. Those herbivorous orcs immediately urged their eagle man partners to send food back to their mother's home. Now, several tribes were crying and begging to submit to her. Count the number of people who want to pledge allegiance to the tribe and see what their specialties are. I'll go check on Yizi's situation. Whether it was settling down the other beast men or saving the rabbit tribe, Zi Shang had to take action. "Perfect, Ah Zhe is at Eagle Cliff. I'll let him take you there." Elder Bai immediately yelled, "Ah Zhe, come here. Elder, I was tired yesterday. Can't you let me rest for a while?" Ah Zhe ran over with sleepy eyes. He almost went around half the secret realm with Zi Shang yesterday. He was really exhausted. "Stop talking, take Miss Yun to Master Yi Zi." Elder Bai kicked Zhe. This elder, who only had a year to live, was full of energy. He didn't look sick at all. "Ouch!" Ah Zhe yelled exaggeratedly and came to Yunjioga obediently. "Let's go." Yunjioga didn't have any sympathy for him. Ah Zhe was just putting on an act. He was more talkative than grass along the way. "Yesterday, Master Yi Zi made me fly around randomly in the sky. Then, he found a small mountain and told me to stop there. Look, it's there." Ah Zhe pointed at a small mountain not far away. Then, his jaw dropped in shock. Chapter 513. A circle of tall and thick gray walls rose abruptly around the mountain, looking indestructible. Outside the wall was a deep ditch. Although water hadn't been released yet, it was still very shocking. "God, there was nothing when I left last night." Ah Zhe couldn't close his mouth at all. "Are you sure you didn't see wrong?" The military advisor also found it hard to believe. "I don't think I saw wrong." Ah Zhe kept rubbing his eyes, suspecting that there was something wrong with his eyes. "Stop rubbing, the wall is real. Let's go over and see." Yunjioga wasn't surprised. Een surely could use magic after all. Building a few city walls wasn't a problem for him. Zishang had long noticed them coming over and was standing on the city wall. He had a smile on his handsome face as he stared intently at Yunjioge. The strong wind blew, causing his black hair and the hem of his clothes to dance, but it was unable to shake his figure. Yunjioge landed next to Zishang and was grabbed by his hand. "How was it? Did it surprise you?" Zishang asked with a smile. "It's all right." Yunjioge looked around and saw a high wall separating the mountain and the flat land behind it. There were many caves on the hill, and it looked as if someone had made countless holes in it. "What are you doing?" Yunjioge couldn't tell what kind of city Zishang wanted to build. "This mountain is for the fighting tribes to live in. Behind it is a planting area. We just need to dig the water channel and we can plant the big eater grass." Zishang began to explain his idea to Yunjioge. "Are you planning to turn this mountain into a fortress?" Yunjioge didn't think the mountain was a place for people to live in. "That's right, this is a fortress. If we launch an attack, the fighting tribes will fight here. The old, weak, women and children will go to the city wall behind," Zishang said simply. "Are you thinking of this battle too intensely?" Yunjioge looked at the things that looked like cannons on the mountain and felt his scalp tingle. This was exactly what a war looked like. "It's better to be prepared," Zishang answered. He didn't tell Yunjioge about his bad feeling. "By the way, where's Shirley?" Yunjioge looked around and didn't see the walking corpse sovereign. "He's still working in the back. I'll take you to him." Zishang brought Yunjioge to the area at the back. From afar, they saw two figures, one big and one small, building a wall. Streams of energy spread out from their palms and turned into walls. "Huh? Why did he even release his wife and child?" Yunjioge was surprised. Shirley's heart ached for his wife and children. How could he bear to let them work? "It's probably because there are more people," Zishang said calmly. "Miss Yun, you're finally here." When Shirley saw Yunjioge, it was as though he had seen a relative. He had been mercilessly oppressed by Zishang for the past few days to the point that he was about to cry. "Amazing. Bringing you here was indeed the right decision." Yunjioge gave Shirley a thumbs up. Shirley was filled with resentment, but he couldn't say anything. "I'll go out with Jioge later. I'll leave this place to you." Zishang patted Shirley's shoulder. "Where are you going?" Shirley was surprised. "A date." Zishang said seriously, "As long as you have your wife by your side, can't I go out with my wife?" All right, all right, all right. You guys go." Shirley turned around helplessly and continued to work with a soaring resentment. Yunjioge didn't know if it was an illusion, but she felt that the yin-yang qi in Shirley's body was even stronger. He was working faster. "Let's go out and talk." After Zishang brought Yunjioge out of the back area, he said, Shirley has been transferring his natal yin-yang qi to his wife and child all these years. He has accumulated a lot of yin-yang qi. It won't be a problem for him to build a city. No wonder. But it's not good for you to oppress him like this. After all, we're all friends. Yunjioge knew that Shirley had given his natal yin-yang qi to his wife and child in the hopes that they would become zombies one day. "I'm naturally giving him benefits when I ask him to work." "You don't have to worry about this," Zishang said. "What benefits can you give him?" Yunjioge looked at Zishang suspiciously. This fellow was poor. Could he be trying to trick Shirley with nothing? "Are you looking down on me?" Zishang glanced at Yunjioge and said, "What I'm giving him is what he wants the most. Can you help his wife and child become zombies?" Yunjioge was shocked. He hadn't heard that Zishang had such a skill. "No." "Then where did you get the confidence that Shirley would be satisfied?" "I can't, but Fan can. That fellow owes me a favor." Zishang raised his eyebrows and was full of pride. "Tsk, you're offering Buddha with borrowed flowers." Yunjioge looked down on him mercilessly. You came to me just to bicker? Zishang ruffled Yunjioga's hair. I'm not here on a date. Yunjioga first mocked Zishang before telling him about the rabbit tribe. Then you're here to ask me to deal with the Lupus tribe? Zishang asked even though he already knew the answer. Of course. I don't trust anyone but you. Yunjioga flattered Zishang, which was very rare. You're such a sweet talker. Let's go now. Zishang dragged Yunjioga to the small mountain and saw Lu Zhe still flying around with advisor Junzi. Come down, Zishang yelled. The two eaglemen quickly flew down. Master Yi Zi, you're too amazing. Zhe looked at Zishang with admiration. The eagle cliff they lived in was built after countless generations of effort. Zishang made it like this in one morning. The eagleman's ancestors wanted to jump out and worship him if they knew. Stop sucking up. Take us to the rabbit tribe's nest, Zishang said. Yes. Zhe and advisor Jun. They brought Yunjioga to the rabbit's nest. There was nothing unusual about the small hill that was covered in weeds. After Zishang landed, he and Yunjioga searched the area carefully again. Finally, they found the mark left by Ash in the corner. They found clues about the Lupus tribe. It's in the east, advisor Jun, then let's go find them now. Zhe rubbed his palms together. He wanted nothing more than to kill all the Lupus tribe. Just as Zishang was about to nod in agreement, a figure suddenly appeared in the sky, flying crookedly. Yes, Ash. Oh my god, Fei is injured. Advisor Jun. They immediately flapped their wings and flew toward Ash. Miss Yun, hurry up and take a look at Fei, Zhe shouted anxiously while carrying Fei. Half of Fei's wings were covered in blood. His face was sallow. He had already fainted. Chapter 5:14. Put him on the ground. Yunjioga quickly told Zhe to lay Fei down. Then, he took out the lightning fire needle to stop the bleeding and examined him carefully. What's wrong? Zishang asked. We found the base of the knolls. We wanted to sneak in to check out the situation, but we didn't expect them to have the Naga's repeating crossbow. When we ran out, Hoodlum was injured by them. Ash blamed himself. If he had been more alert, Hoodlum would not have been injured. It's fine. There's no poison in the arrow. Just go back and rest. Yunjioga was relieved after examining Fei. Zhe, take Fei back. Zhe and strategist, take us to the Knoll's camp, Zishang said. Zhe didn't want to do this, but he didn't dare disobey Zishang's orders. He could only carry Fei away. Zhe, how are you? Do you want to rest before going? Yunjioga saw that Zhe didn't look too well. I'm not tired, but the Knolls just discovered us. If we go now, they'll be on their guard. Zhe frowned. Don't worry about that. Send us somewhere nearby, and we'll find a way in, Zishang said. Okay, we'll send you there. Zhe and strategist took Yunjioga and Zishang east. The ground was scorched black along the way. The stench of death was very strong. It was a barren land. There were no orcs living here anymore. Why were the Knolls still living here? Weren't they afraid of the stench of death? Even if they weren't, where would they find food? Yunjioga thought it was strange, but he couldn't ask Zishang while flying. He could only ask when he landed. We're ready. Fly low so they don't find us, Zhe said, lowering his body. Zishang let go and landed on the ground. He shouted to Yunjioga, jump. Yunjioga jumped into his arms. Another mile and we'll reach the Knoll's camp, Zhe said after landing. We can go there ourselves. You guys go back to Eagle Cliff. Zishang waved his hand. No, it's too dangerous. Elder Bai told us to stay by your side at all times. Strategist shook his head. This is an order. Zishang did not explain much and sent the military advisor back with one sentence. The military counselor was in a dilemma. He did not dare to disobey Zishang's orders, but he was also afraid that he would be scolded by the elders when he returned. Don't worry. With Yi Zi here, I'll be fine. Right now, I have something more important that I need you to do. Yunjioga was much gentler than Zishang. What mission? The military counselor asked hurriedly. Leaving with a mission and leaving dejectedly were two completely different concepts. Go and find the rabbit tribe and tell them about us building the city. If everything goes well, the rabbit tribe will be able to reunite in the new city tonight. Yunjioga said earnestly to the military counselor, these rabbit people are very important. You must love them as much as you love us. Don't worry, Miss Yun. We understand. The military counselor nodded. When he left this morning, he also felt that it was dangerous to leave Agagu alone to protect the rabbit tribe. It was a good time for him to go and take a look at the situation. Huey's face was cold, and he did not interrupt from the beginning to the end. His attitude was that he would do whatever Yunjioga said. Let's go. The military counselor and Hui bade farewell, and the two eagle men turned and left. Since the rabbit tribe is so important, why didn't you bring them back? Zishang asked curiously. I didn't bring them back because I wanted to keep them as bait, Yunjioga said mysteriously. You suspect that there are spies around us? Zishang raised his eyebrows. They might not be spies. They could be controlled beast men. Yunjioga could not open his spiritual eye to check all the beast men, so he could only use this stupid method. It would be great if there were none, but if there were, then he could catch them all in one go. Yunjioga and Zishang ran as they talked. Soon, they arrived at a large patch of dark red grass. The grass was half a person's height, and the redness was unbearable. There was also a pungent smell coming from it. The Knoll tribe was in the center of the grass. These Knolls did not seem to know how to live. They had built a few straw sheds at the side, and it was obvious that they were holding the rabbit tribe captive. There was not a single guard in the surroundings. It was no wonder that Hui and Fei could not help but go down to investigate. There are many Knolls around, waiting for us to walk right into their trap. Zishang's eyesight was much better than the eagleman's. He could see many figures in the grass with a sweep of his eyes. Attack? Yunjioga asked in a low voice. I'll lure them away. You go and save the rabbits. Zishang stared at the Knolls in the grass. Okay. Yunjioga lowered her body even more. Zishang pounced forward like the wind and kicked the Knoll closest to him away. The Knoll was like a cannonball that had gone out of control. It flew in circles and crushed countless weeds. Ow, ow, ow. The Knolls all exploded. They raised their bows and charged at Zishang. Zishang moved like a bolt of lightning, sending the Knolls closest to him flying. Then, he stealthily led the Knolls to the side. Yunjioga took the opportunity to run toward the straw sheds. She did not open the door and rush in. Instead, she poked a hole in the straw sheds and peeked inside. She saw a huge metal cage inside. The unconscious rabbit men were stuffed tightly inside the cage. Some of the rabbit men were even squeezed so tightly that their hands and feet were exposed outside the cage. Fortunately, they were placed vertically. If they were casually stacked, many of the rabbit men would have suffocated to death. Yunjioga looked around. She did not find any danger in the straw sheds, so she quietly opened the door and slipped out. She was about to open the cage to release the rabbit men when she felt a dangerous aura behind her. She instinctively leaned forward. A crossbow arrow flew past her scalp, creating a huge hole in the straw sheds. Yunjioga turned around and saw a tall Knoll standing in front of her with a crossbow. This Knoll had yellowish-brown hair, slender eyes, a black nose, and his muscles were as strong as stone. At this moment, its eyes were gray, and its movements were slow. It was obvious that it was being controlled. Yunjioga opened her spiritual eye and saw that the knoll's head and neck had been taken over by the gray light. It was even worse than Aunt Gaga of the Naga tribe. What did Nangong Yu do to this knoll? Why was it so serious? Questions surfaced in Yunjioga's mind. Unfortunately, she did not have time to think. The knoll had already thrown away the crossbow and pounced toward her. It was as fast as a spring, and its sharp claws appeared in front of her in an instant. Chapter 5:15. Seeing that the knoll leader's claws were unavoidable, Yunjioga could only use his divine power to tie him up with his moon spirit threads. Unexpectedly, the knoll leader struggled wildly and knocked the entire straw shed away. Weeds flew everywhere in the collapsed straw shed, and most of them fell onto the iron cage. The gnolls who were fighting Zishang heard the commotion and all turned to run toward the straw shed. Rows of crossbow bolts flew toward her, and many of them stabbed into the iron cage. Many rabbit men were injured in an instant. The injured rabbit men immediately woke up and roared in a frenzy, "Let us out!" The entire iron cage kept shaking, and more rabbit men were injured. "Calm down!" Yunjioga shouted at the rabbit men as he tried to control the gnoll leader. If the rabbit men were released in this crazy state, they would only die faster. "Get out of the way!" Zishang's black snake tail knocked out all the gnolls. Then he twisted his body and slithered to Yunjioga's side, breaking the tall gnoll's limbs. The tall gnoll fell to the ground, but even though his limbs were broken, he still crawled toward Yunjioga without fear of death. A cold light flashed in Zishang's eyes. He was about to twist his head off, but Yunjioga stopped him. "He's completely controlled by the demonic chi. He can't do anything. Killing him is useless." Yunjioga took out a thunderfire needle and stabbed it at the gnoll's temple. Only then did he stop struggling. Zishang used the straw rope to tie up all the gnolls. Yunjioga checked them one by one and found that their heads had all turned gray, and the gray was spreading downward. Can these beast men be saved? Zishang could also see that these gnolls were more troublesome than before. It's difficult. Their heads are completely occupied by the demonic chi. Yunjioga shook his head. After the sea of consciousness was completely eroded, even if the demonic chi was expelled, only an empty shell would be left. These are the gnoll's crossbow bolts. See if there's anything wrong with them. Zishang handed the crossbow bolts to Yunjioga. Yunjioga looked carefully. The structure of the crossbow bolts was very similar to the Nagas, except for the arrows. The arrowheads of the Naga tribe were coated with poison, while the arrowheads of the Gnoll tribe were gray and ordinary. Just as Yunjioga was about to study the arrowhead, he heard the hysterical shouts of the rabbit people behind him. "Let me out, let me out." Yunjioga turned around helplessly and said to the rabbit men who had bent the iron cages, "I can let you out, but you have to calm down first." "Who are you?" A voice that had experienced the vicissitudes of life yet did not lose its calm was heard. Yunjioga looked over and saw a Lolita-like little rabbit in the middle of the iron cage. Her red eyes were filled with vicissitudes of life, and she was staring at her. Yunjioga inexplicably felt that this rabbit person was extraordinary, so he said to her, "My name is Yunjioga. Your clansmen asked me to save you. I am the leader of the rabbit race. I promise that they won't do anything rash. Please let us out." The leader of the lowly race said in a low voice. She was strangely convincing. "Are you the clan leader?" Yunjioga remembered that Gua had been calling the clan leader grandma before. "You can't tell, right?" The leader of the lowly race laughed but did not explain anything. It seemed like this was a special disguise technique of the rabbit race. "Indeed, I can't tell. I will let you out now. I hope you won't run around." Yunjioga opened the iron cage. The rabbit people did not run around crazily. The conscious rabbit people who walked out pulled out the arrows from their bodies and threw them on the ground. Then, they began to take care of their unconscious clansmen. Yunjioga wanted to help the rabbit people examine them. However, the rabbit people looked at her with wary eyes. Clearly, they had not let down their guard. I am a spirit doctor. Only I can cure your poison, Yunjioga said to the leader of the rabbit people. Then please help me take a look. The leader of the rabbit people trusted Yunjioga. Clan leader. The other rabbit people were unwilling. The leader of the rabbit people waved her hand and took the initiative to walk towards brother Yunjio. Yunjioga reached out to take the pulse of the leader and found that their meridians had been sealed by a special poison. However, this poison was very light. It could be dispelled without using divine power. Clan leader, I will be inserting needles into your body to force the poison out. I hope you won't be nervous. Yunjioga took out the lightning fire and said to the leader of the rabbit people. No, who knows if your needles are poisonous? Before the leader of the rabbit people could say anything, a male rabbit people suddenly jumped out to stop her. This male rabbit people was very tall and handsome. Other than his white hair and red eyes, he was no different from a human. Demeng, don't be rude. Step down. Although the leader of the rabbit people looked like a lowly, she was very dignified. She stopped Demeng's rude actions with a glance. Unwillingly, Demeng retreated. Miss Yun, can the poison be cured immediately after the acupuncture? The leader of the rabbit people asked cautiously. If it goes smoothly, it will be cured immediately. Yunjioga nodded. This poison was not difficult to cure. Then I will leave it to you. Do you need me to lie down? The leader of the rabbit people asked cooperatively. There's no need. Just sit down. Yunjioga walked behind the leader of the rabbit people and used his hand to press on a few of her acupuncture points. He said carefully, this poison has blocked the acupuncture points of 3 of your meridians. That's why you can't use your power to transform. Later, I will use needles to force the poisonous blood out. It might be a little painful, but bear with it. Seeing the leader of the rabbit people nod, Yunjioga picked up the lightning fire needle and inserted it into the acupuncture points. Droplets of black poisonous blood quickly emerged from the wound. As the process of detoxification progressed, the leader of the rabbit people slowly aged. Her hair turned white and wrinkles slowly grew on her face. When the other rabbit people saw the transformation of the leader, they did not stop her. It seemed like this was the true face of the leader of the rabbit people. It's done. Yunjioga put away the needles. The leader of the rabbit people could clearly feel the return of her power. She asked Yunjioga earnestly, Miss Yun, this method is very useful. Can you teach us? We can use things to exchange for it. Although this method is effective, I do not recommend that you use it yourself. If you don't control your strength well, it can easily cause huge damage. If it's light, your meridians will be damaged. If it's serious, you will be paralyzed and have a stroke, Yunjioga said solemnly. I just hope that I can save the lives of my clansmen at the critical moment. If it wasn't for Yunjioga, they would have been doomed. The leader of the rabbit people didn't wish for the fate of her clansmen to be in the hands of others. Later, I will help your clansmen insert the needles one by one. How much you can learn will depend on your own abilities. Yunjioga didn't plan on bartering for it to prevent future trouble. Thank you. The leader of the rabbit people immediately arranged for her clansmen to sit in rows. Yunjioga moved the needles rapidly and began helping the rabbit people detoxify. Chapter 5:16. The rabbit people watched Yunjioga as she inserted the needles and discussed in low voices. Do you understand? I think I did, but she was too fast. Don't we still have needles on us? Let's go back and apply some rouge flower before we study it. She had some smarts. Yunjioga smiled slightly. She didn't hate smart people. Miss Yun, these gnolls aren't good people. I suggest you don't keep them. The rabbit leader saw the gnolls tied up like candied hawthorns. Her usually calm eyes couldn't help but show hatred. These gnolls violated the ancestral decree not to kill each other and attacked us rabbit people. They deserve to die. Demeng roared angrily. The other rabbit people also started to riot. Everyone, calm down. Yunjioga stopped the rabbit people and said, they're just controlled by the demonic chi. They might not really want to attack you. Controlled by the demonic chi? What do you mean? The rabbit leader asked with a frown. Yunjioga remembered that the leader didn't know about the demonic chi, so she explained it briefly. Are the people who brought in the demonic chi related to the Black Rain disaster? The rabbit leader asked in a low voice. I'm not sure. Yunjioga shook her head and said, we'll talk about this later. I'll take you to Gua and the others first, but I can only take you with me when you turn into rabbits. The space in the spirit beast bag was limited. She couldn't carry such a large group of humanoid rabbits. Sure. The rabbit leader now trusted Yunjioga a little. She didn't hesitate to let her people turn into rabbits. The bag is too stuffy. I'll put you in this spirit beast bag. There's spirit chi inside that can help you recover faster. Yunjioga used dummy to show them her spirit beast bag. The rabbit people were amazed. After trying it, they were all very satisfied with the spirit beast bag. Yunjioga finally dealt with the group of rabbits. She was about to argue with Zishang when she saw him standing at a small dirt mound in the distance. Look what I found. Yunjioga walked over to take a look and found that there was a big hole inside. There were thousands of black stones inside. What is this? Yunjioga picked it up and weighed it. It was very heavy. It wasn't an ordinary stone. It looked like iron ore. This is a common iron organ. Once it's refined, it can be used as a weapon. Zishang had been wondering where he could get some ores to refine into a weapon. Now, the problem was solved. No wonder the gnolls would stay in this godforsaken place. They're here for these ores. Needless to say, Nangong Yu must have asked them to collect them. This trip was not in vain. Hurry up and put them away. Zishang said with satisfaction. Yunjioga bluntly put away all the vanadium ores. Let's go to the cliff. Yunjioga stored the gnolls that had been controlled by the demonic chi at the bottom of the spirit beast pouch, then started running with Zishang. Although she could not use her spiritual power, the spell of 10,000 beasts had laid a solid foundation for her body, and her running speed was not inferior to that of a wild horse. After running for about an hour, Yunjioga and the others arrived at the cliff. They saw that the grass curtain hanging over the cave had disappeared, and the things inside were in a mess. It was obvious that someone had ransacked it. Yunjioga's heart tightened, and he hurriedly flicked his moon spirit thread into the cave. Zishang tapped lightly on the cliff wall a few times before floating in with Yunjioga. There were many bloodstains in the cave, mixed with gray feathers and white rabbit fur. Looks like the spy you mentioned has appeared. Zishang looked around the cave, then picked up the bloodstain in the corner and rubbed it. Even if there's a spy, aren't there still the military counselor and the others? How did they get killed so quickly? Yunjioga originally thought that with the eaglemen and rabbitmen around, the spy would not be able to get away with it. You'll have to ask them. Zishang looked at the bottom of the cliff. They're down there. Yunjioga followed Zishang's gaze and looked at the pitch-black bottom of the cliff. The bloodstains are going downwards, so they should be down there. Hold on tight. Zishang wrapped his arms around Yunjioga's slender waist and jumped down the cliff. The wind whistled past her ears. Just as she was about to fall, she flicked her moon spirit thread upwards to stabilize herself, then slowly descended. A thick smell of blood wafted from the bottom of the cliff. Two figures were lying in a pile of rubble. Yunjioga went over to take a look and saw that the one in front was Agu. He was lying face down on the ground, and there were bloody holes on his back, which dyed both sides of his wings red. Behind Agu was the military counselor. He was lying on his back and looked like he still had some consciousness. When he saw Yunjioga, his mouth moved. He wanted to shout for help, but he could not make a sound. Don't speak. Yunjioga hurriedly used acupuncture to stop their bleeding. Then, she fed a few of the blood-staunching spirit pills and essence-nurturing pills that she had brought. The effects of the spirit pills were very obvious. The bloody holes on their bodies had stopped. Miss Yun, quickly go and save Gua, and the others, the military counselor said in a hoarse voice as he struggled to sit up. Who attacked you? Yunjioga asked. Yes, Ash. The military counselor's face revealed an extremely pained expression. He never expected that it would be his own people who would stab him in the back. Ah hui, how could it be him? Yunjioga was also greatly shocked. I don't know why he did that either. The military counselor recounted what had happened with great difficulty. When Ah Hui came over, there was nothing out of the ordinary. He even took the initiative to help the rabbit men fetch water and told them about the construction of the city. Just as they were talking enthusiastically, Ah Hui suddenly took out a sharp wooden spike and stabbed them in the back. Then, he used the lives of the pregnant Gua, and the little rabbit to threaten the rabbit men to leave with him. I'll send you back first before chasing after them. Yunjioga wanted to send the military counselor to the top of the cliff. No, quickly chase after them. We definitely cannot let Ah Hui send the rabbit men to the oracle. Otherwise, the eagle men race would not be able to atone for their sins even if they died 10,000 times. Alright, then I'll go chase after them first. I'll come back to pick you up later. Seeing that their injuries were still considered stable, Yunjioga did not say anything else. He threw out his moon spirit threads and headed to the top of the cliff. Treasure-seeking scorpion, do you still remember the scent of the rabbit man that was with you previously? Can you help me find it? Yunjioga released the treasure-seeking scorpion. That rabbit was captured by someone. Who is so evil as to actually attack a pregnant female? The treasure-seeking scorpion shouted angrily. If I catch him, I'll definitely kill him. With that said, it jumped onto the ground and spun around a few times. Then, it pointed to the west and said, there. Chase after him. Yunjioga threw the treasure-seeking scorpion onto his shoulder and quickly headed west with Zishang. After running for 2 hours, they finally saw a figure flying in the distant sky. It was Ah Hui. Should we directly shoot him down, or follow him to see where he's going? Zishang asked Yunjioga. According to his intentions, he wanted to cast a long line to catch a big fish, but Yunjioga might not be willing to let the rabbit men take the risk. Chapter 5:17. Let's go take a look first. Yunjioga thought about it and decided to follow. It would be best if he could find Nangong Yu's address. Yunjioga, Zishang, and the rest followed behind Hui and saw him flying towards the death swamp. The deathly aura emitted by the death swamp had a strong corrosive effect on beastmen. Even flying in the sky would be shrouded by it. After Hui entered the death swamp, he slowed down and the feathers on his wings started to dim. However, he still continued to fly forward. Yunjioga released his god power to create a protective barrier and brought Zishang into the death swamp. After following Hui for about 1 kilometer, he passed through the miasma and landed on a flat ground. When Yunjioga got closer, he realized that behind the miasma was a grey fort. The fort occupied an area of 5 hectares and was 3 stories tall. It had no windows and only a square door. Currently, there were 2 lizard men guarding it. A few gray-skinned lizard men walked out stiffly and took Hui in. Could this be Nangong Yu's base? She actually dared to stay here? Yunjioga was very surprised. A cultivator without the protection of spiritual energy was no different from an ordinary person. Wasn't Nangong Yu afraid of being contaminated by living here? Let's go take a look. Zishang pulled Yunjioga's hand and silently approached the fort. There were beast men guarding the fort. All of them had gray-skinned glazed eyes and looked like stone statues. Yunjioga opened his spiritual eye to take a look and realized that these beast men were filled with demonic aura. It was even worse than the previous lupus. The previous lupus could only be said to be controlled. These beast men had completely turned into puppets. It was no wonder that they were not afraid of the deathly aura and the miasma. Zisheng picked up a stone and threw it at the heads of the two lizard men guarding the gate. When they raised their heads to look around, he threw another stone into the swamp at the side. The two lizard men walked over stiffly to take a look. Yunjioga and Zisheng took the opportunity to sneak in. The entrance was completely dark without any light. A slightly familiar voice came from not far away. Why are there only so few rabbit men? Yunjioga stretched his head out to take a closer look. The ones who spoke were the leopard youth and the lizard man who intercepted them when they entered the secret realm. In this lifeless place filled with puppet beast men, the two of them were strangely awake. Yunjioga opened his spirit eye and discovered that the two beast men were also covered in golden light that was protecting their sea of consciousness. The leopard youth's golden light shone on his chest, while the lizardman's golden light shone on his ears. It was more intense than the rabbitman's, but not as intense as Dummy's. Strange, since these two beast men had golden light protecting their bodies, why weren't they captured? Could it be that there was something special about them? The rest of the rabbit men must be with the gnolls. Do you even need to ask? The lizard man said. All right, take these rabbits to the prison and put them there. The leopard youth handed the rabbits back to Ash and pointed the way for him. Carrying a big bag of rabbits, Ahui turned around and walked out. Rabbits, I can only help you fight for this little bit of time. The leopard youth sighed. Stop talking nonsense, hurry up and report to the Lord. The lizard man said coldly. Sigh, let's go. Hopefully, we can make it out alive this time. The panther race youngster gave a long sigh before patting his chest. The golden light on his chest gradually extinguished and black gas filled his body. His skin turned gray and his eyes became lifeless, turning into a puppet. The lizard man rubbed his ears and put away the golden light. After turning into a puppet with the leopard youth, they slowly walked into the depths of the castle. I'll go with them to take a look, bring Ash and the rabbits back. Yunjioga gestured to Zisheng. Can you do it by yourself? Zisheng didn't agree. I'll just go and take a look, I definitely won't act rashly. Yunjioga felt that he was much more cautious than Zisheng. All right. Zisheng nodded and split up with Yunjioga. Yunjioga followed the leopard youth and the lizard man to a large door deep in the castle. This large door was made of gray stone and there were all kinds of totems carved on it. There were also two monkey demon corpses guarding the door. Yunjioga's heart tightened when she saw the two monkey demon corpses. In this secret realm, only Cho Sun could have monkey demon corpses. These two monkey demon corpses had changed a lot compared to the outside world. They had giant sharp teeth, gray stone-like skin, and their bodies were releasing a thick death aura. Their cultivation bases were in the Golden Core realm. She didn't know how Cho Sun did this. Yunjioga's heart was filled with questions and she didn't dare act rashly. She saw the two monkey demon corpses look over the leopard youth and the lizard man before letting them in. The gray door was only opened enough for them to pass through, but it was a pity that Yunjioga couldn't see anything from her angle. She didn't dare take the risk of drawing away the two monkey demon corpses, so she could only silently wait. It was a good thing that the leopard youth and the lizard man quickly came out and then slowly walked outside. Yunjioga considered it for a bit before giving up on looking for Cho's senator. She turned around and followed the leopard youth and the lizard man. Seeing their sober appearance, they would definitely be able to give her a lot of information. At this time, a sharp alarm sounded in the castle. The leopard youth and the lizardman's gray light suddenly rose as they charged at the source of the alarm. Yunjioga's pupils shrank and she suddenly shot out a moon spirit thread to tie up the leopard youth and the lizard man. Then she quickly put them into her spirit beast bag. Let's go. Zisheng quickly ran over to Yunjioga with Ah Hui on his shoulder. Behind him was a large group of beast men puppets. Countless crossbow bolts were shot at him, but they were all sent flying by his sleeves. Put them away. Yunjioge threw the spirit beast bag to Zishang and followed him outside. What happened? There was a monkey-ean corpse with a keen sense of smell in the prison, and I was accidentally discovered by it. Zishang felt that he was really unlucky. He had knocked Ah Hui unconscious and was about to go find Yunjioge, but he never thought that he would be discovered by a monkey-ean corpse with a giant nose. Although he had knocked out the monkey-ean corpse with his tail, it still triggered the alarm. I followed those two beast men inside and found two golden core realm monkey-ean corpses. Yunjioge described the appearance of the two ean corpses. It seems like the ones inside are either Cho Sun or Nangongyu. Should we go find them? Zishang was a bit moved. Save it, can you beat them? Yunjioge said as he sent a leopard puppet flying. Who says this venerable can't beat them? Zishang was a bit dissatisfied. Yunjioge was looking down on him too much. Alright, fighting alone isn't your style. You should go back and gather the Beastman army to crush them. Yunjioge comforted him. Good idea. Zishang threw Yunjioge onto his body and his lower body turned into a black snake tail, sending countless beastmen flying. Chapter 518. The monster monkey-ean corpses are here, let's go. Yunjioge turned his head to look behind him and saw two golden core monster monkey-ean corpses charging over with spears. The death aura on the spears was very terrifying. Help me, I'll directly leave the death swamp. Zishang's tail smashed the wall and he jumped out of the castle, instantly arriving at the edge of the death swamp. Yunjioge covered Zishang in a layer of golden light, isolating the death aura outside. Zishang jumped into the death swamp and with a twist of his tail, he flew out like an arrow. There were several fast beast puppets that chased after him, but they immediately sank into the swamp. The monster monkey-ean corpses looked at Yunjioge and Zishang flying away, pounding their chests as they let out angry roars. Behind the gray stone door, Cho Sen, who was studying the golden beast puppets, looked up when he heard the commotion. He called the monster monkey-ean corpses in and after communicating with them, he found out that a woman and a snake person had come in to cause destruction. Yunjioge, right? Cho Sen suddenly laughed, his left eye was dark and strange. So what if you are the reincarnation of a goddess? No one can stop our otherworldly demon race from starting a great journey. After Yunjioge and Zishang charged out of the death swamp, they wildly ran for another hour. After confirming that the beast puppets would not chase them, they let out a sigh of relief. We have to find a safe place to stay as soon as possible. Yunjioge looked at the darkening sky and his heart began to sink. The night in the secret realm was very dangerous. The death aura would spread very quickly. Other than the deformed dead beasts, no other animals would dare come out. Even if Yunjioge had divine energy protecting his body, he would not dare try it. Zishang looked at the incomparably empty field. He was afraid that it would be hard to find a safe cave before nightfall, so it would be better to make a hole here. He raised his hand and pressed down on the ground. Gray Yin Chi came out of his palm and drilled into the ground. A round hole immediately appeared in front of Yunjioge. All right. Zishang held Yunjioge and jumped down. He sealed the hole and there was no trace of them in the field. You used Yin surely quite thoroughly. Yunjioge looked around the empty basement in front of him. Everything was made from Yin energy. Equivalent exchange. Fan Yin's favor is very valuable. If it wasn't for the special circumstances, Zishang wouldn't have wanted to sell it to Yin Shirley. It was too cheap for them to help build the city. How did Fan Yin owe you a favor? In Yunjioge's impression, the handsome monk was always dignified and solemn. He could not even crack a joke. How could he owe Zishang a favor? I told him that you wanted to take him into your harem, which made me feel very embarrassed. He felt that he owed me a favor. Zishang said rather evilly. I never thought of taking him in, okay? Yunjioge glared at him. No matter how bad he was in his previous life, he still had a bottom line. I know, I purposely tricked him. Zishang purposely made Fan Yin owe him a favor so that he could torment him in the future. You are so despicable. Zishang dared to use her. Yu Ling, was right about him. Thank you for the compliment. Zishang smiled. He was such a despicable person, and he felt very honored. Release Ash. I want to ask him what's going on. Yunjioga decided to interrogate the traitor first. Zishang then released Ah Hui. Ash's usually cold face was very sluggish. He looked at Yunjioga in a daze. It was obvious that he was being controlled. Yunjioga opened her spirit eye and saw that his mind was filled with a ball of thick gray gas. Why is it like this? Previously, when Yunjioga had examined Ah Hui, he had not been controlled. Why did he suddenly erupt? Could it be that the demonic chi was so well hidden that even her spirit eye was fooled? Could it be because of this? Zishang gestured for Yunjioga to look at Ash's back. There was a bloody hole there. It was caused by the knoll's crossbow. Yunjioga suddenly thought of the special gray arrowhead of the knoll. She took out the arrowhead from her storage bag. Zishang released Yin energy at the arrowhead. The arrowhead immediately turned into black and red demonic energy. With a whoosh, it burrowed into Ash's wound. After Yunjioga used her god power to extinguish the demonic energy, she asked Zishang, where did they get so many demonic stones? Why didn't the Naga race use these arrowheads before? If the Naga race also used these arrowheads, the Eagle Men race would have been wiped out. It probably has to do with the user's physique. The knoll is already a puppet, so it can make use of the demonic stones. However, the demonic stones shouldn't be able to turn the beast men into puppets. They must have used other methods, such as the Gaga grass, to turn the beast men into puppets. Only then can they make use of the demonic stones. Zishang gave his conjecture. It's getting more and more troublesome. Yunjioga sighed. She kept Ash in her spiritual beast bag and released the leopard youth and the lizard man. These two were even more wooden than Ash. Their bodies were covered in gray gas, just like the knoll. If Yunjioga hadn't seen them speak, she would have thought that they had become puppets. She injected her god power into the chests of the two beast men. The two beastmen's bodies glowed with a golden light, slowly dispersing the demonic energy in their heads. Then, they opened their eyes. It's you? The leopard youth instantly recognized Yunjioga. Where is this? The lizard man looked at the earthy yellow basement warily. It's safe here. You've already escaped from the death swamp, Yunjioga said calmly. Zishang hid her breath and hid in the shadows. You rescued us? The leopard youth had a look of disbelief. This woman could actually pass through the death swamp and Grey Castle. She was too powerful. That's right. What are your names? Why did you go to Grey Castle? What happened there? What's behind that patterned door? Yunjioga fired off a barrage of questions. The leopard youth glanced at the lizard man. When he saw the lizard man nod, he slowly said, I'm Flowery, and he's Big Ear. We were captured and brought to Grey Castle. Behind the door is a man called Cho Sr. It turned out that Xiao Hua and Big Ear were the first batch of beast men to seek refuge with the Oracle. After receiving the Oracle's order to capture Yunjioga, they had been loitering at the entrance of the secret land. After Yunjioga escaped with Dummy that day, they planned to go back and report to the Oracle. They didn't expect to be recruited by Cho Sun to come to the Death Swamp and help him capture beast men who could transform into beasts. Is the Cho Sun you're talking about a man who looks like a 5-year-old child? Yunjioga asked. No, Cho Sun is a tall and handsome man who looks very gloomy and scary. Big Ear shook his head. Did Cho Sun lift the curse? Yunjioga thought for a moment, then asked, why did Cho Sun capture beast men who can transform into beasts? Chapter 5:19. He kept those beast men in cages behind the door and drank their blood every day. Little Blossom shuddered at the thought. You too can transform too. Why doesn't Chosun drink your blood? Yunjioga was confused. These two beast men were definitely high-quality products. How do you know we can transform? You're wrong. We can't. Little Blossom and Big Ear said at the same time. You don't have to lie to me. My eyes can see the golden light on your bodies. Yunjioga nodded at his eyes, then pointed at Little Blossom's chest and Big Ear's ears. Your golden light is here. Little Blossom and Big Ear's faces tensed up. The next moment, they suddenly attacked Yunjioga. But before they could get close to Yunjioga, they were sent flying by a strong force. They slammed into the wall. Behave, or I'll break your necks. Zisheng cracked his knuckles as he walked out of the shadows. He stood beside Yunjioga like an unshakable mountain. Little Blossom and Big Ear looked at him with complicated expressions. That attack just now made them know that this man was very strong. There was no way they could win. Don't be too nervous. I mean you no harm. The demonic air is everywhere. Only the golden light can save you beastmen. Do you know where the golden light on your bodies came from? Yunjioga asked directly. We don't know where the golden light on our bodies came from either. Little Blossom and Big Ear shook their heads at the same time. After he and Big Ear were intercepted by Chosun and brought to the death swamp, Chosun injected magic stones into them and turned them into gray puppets. These gray puppets were very strong and did not fear death, but they could not use magic stone tools. The second day after Little Blossom and Big Ear became puppets, they awoke to the golden light and regained consciousness, so he could not provide any useful clues. If you think of any clues, tell me immediately. Yunjioga did not expect Little Blossom and Big Ear to immediately tell him the secret of the golden light. If they knew where the golden light came from, they wouldn't be so weak. They would at least be at Dummy's level. Yes. Little Blossom and Big Ear quickly nodded. How are your people now? Yunjioga wanted to bring them to the city that Zisheng built. There might be other people with golden light. My people are still in their original camp, Little Blossom said. Little Flower could guess what Yunjioga was thinking. He immediately said, I am willing to represent them and be loyal to you. You just need to give them a safe place to stay. The oracle looked at them like they were ants, but Yunjioga was calm. The divine emissary looked at them as though they were ants, but Yunjioga's gaze was calm. Lady Yun, I am also willing to serve you on behalf of the Lizard Men tribe. The conditions are the same as the Leopard Men tribe, Big Ear said solemnly. I agree, Yun said. We can. You. And, Little Blossom said, you. But we only have 2 hours of conscious time every day. Little Blossom smiled bitterly and pointed at his chest. The golden light there was fading. Me too, so I have no choice but to ask you to send someone to pick them up. This is a token from the chief. You just have to show it to my people, and they will follow you. Big Ear took off a black leather rope hanging from his chest. There was a series of gray scales hanging from it. Big Ear bit his index finger and smeared the blood on the scales. The gray scales immediately turned blue. Little Blossom took off his bracelet. There was a white tooth on it. He rubbed his blood on the tooth, too. The tooth turned black. Don't worry. I will send the Eaglemen to pick them up, Yunjioga said, taking their tokens. Thank you, Yunjioga. Little Blossom and Big Ear thanked him. Oh, I have one more thing to ask you. Yunjioga told her about the gnolls, then took out the arrow made of magic stones and asked, Do you know what's going on? Xiaohua picked up the magic stone arrow and looked at it carefully. He said, I remember that the oracle appeared in the gnoll tribe. The gnolls worshipped the oracle very much. Then, they got sick. The oracle gave them gaga grass to cure them. They volunteered to go to the grasslands to collect iron. I don't know what happened after that. It seemed that the prerequisite to consuming the demonic gaga grass was to worship Nangong Yu. Yunjioga nodded to himself. If that was the case, then it made sense. Apart from Cho-sun, did you see anyone else with the oracle? Zishang asked. No. Actually, we have never seen the god messenger's true face. She always wears a big white cloak, and her face is covered with a veil. Little Flower's voice was getting weaker and weaker. His face was gray, and he became a puppet again. Yunjioga put Little Blossom and Big Ear into the spirit beast bag. She asked Zishang, I wonder how Nangong Li and Bailey Moyun are. She had a bad feeling. No matter what happened to them, they asked for it. They chose to believe Nangong Yu and not them. I hope they're still alive. They were friends. Yunjioga didn't want them to become Nangong Yu's puppets. The next morning, Yunjioga and Zishang returned to the bottom of the cliff. They found that Counselor and a Gu were gone. However, the clues they left behind indicated that they had returned to Eagle Cliff. Back to Eagle Cliff or the city? Zishang asked Yunjioga. Let's go back to the city. Yunjioga thought about it and decided to go back. That was her territory. That's right. Zishang looked like she was worth teaching. What kind of boss would run around all day? Of course, it was to wait for the minions to come. 2 hours later, Yunjioga and Zishang arrived at the construction site. From afar, the tall walls were very eye-catching. They could see the eagle people moving around the small mountain in the middle. There were also many snake people helping to build houses by the walls. Elder Bai and Meng thought that Zishang would need a long time to build the city. They didn't expect it to be done in just a few days. The two races immediately came over to take the position. Lady Yun, you're back. Ah Zhe saw them from afar and rushed over. Oh, right, how are Counselor and Gu? Yunjioga asked. They're fine. They're recovering at Eagle Cliff. Did you catch Hui, that traitor? Ah Zhe asked excitedly. I did. Are Elder Bai and Meng here? Yunjioga asked. They're all in the mountains. I'll take you there. Ah Zhe said. No need. Go back and tell Elder Bai and Meng to gather all the orcs. I have something to say to them. Yunjioga decided to gather everyone and tell them about the gnolls. Okay, I'll go now. Ah Zhe flapped his wings and flew back. Chapter 520. Yunjioga was just about to enter the city when Zishang pulled her hand and pointed to a stone tablet not far away. He smiled and said, Yin Shirley is quite considerate. Yunjioga followed his line of sight and saw a huge stone tablet at the city gate with 2 majestic words written on it, Cloud City. I didn't build this city. It should be called Purple City. Yunjioga felt that she had stolen Zishang's credit. In fact, Zishang had done as much as she did recently, but he always kept a low profile and hid behind her. This is the city I built for you. It's called Cloud City. It's worthy of its name. Zishang smiled. If it wasn't for Yunjioga's kindness, he wouldn't have cared about the lives of these beastmen and wouldn't have helped them like this. Cloud City it is. It was just a title. Yunjioga wouldn't be hypocritical and push it around with Zishang. The two of them walked into the city together and saw Elder Bai walking over with the little eagle man, a Shui. Miss Yun, I heard you caught Ash. Is he really a traitor? Elder White didn't believe that Ash would betray the eagle men. However, if Ash really did something wrong, he hoped to settle it privately. Aqua didn't speak. He looked at Yunjioga with his light blue eyes. If Ash was really determined to be a traitor, the traitor's child would have a hard time in the future. That's right, Ash didn't betray you. All of this was caused by God's messenger. Later, I will explain this matter clearly in front of everyone. Yunjioga touched Aqua's head and gave him a cherry pill. Thank you. Aqua's eyes lit up when he saw this beautiful pill. He decided to give it to his father. That's great. Oh right, the bull-headed and centaur tribes have come to us. They're in the plaza now. Elder White was completely relieved. He knew the eagle men wouldn't have cowards. They've all moved here? Yunjioga didn't expect Elder White to act so quickly. That's right. We brought food and moss to the centaurs and ox-headed tribes, and they moved over without hesitation. Sir Ian Shirley has already divided the area for them, and they've already started planting herbivorous grass and moss, Elder White said with a face full of confidence. That's right. Actually, the oxmen and centaurs didn't fully believe it at first. But after discovering that the land was actually alive, they didn't hesitate to move over. You've done very well. Take me to them. Yunjioga needed to get to know the first group of herbivorous orcs that sought refuge with him. They're at the plaza. I'll take you there. Elder Bai brought Yunjioga to the plaza. The square was very simple, and there was only a high platform in the middle. At this time, the high platform was surrounded by beastmen. There were eaglemen, nagas, centaurs, and oxmen all gathered together. When he saw Yunjioga and Zi Shang, he immediately cheered, Lady Yun, Lord Yi Zi. The other orcs cheered as well, as if they were welcoming a triumphant hero. Yunjioga raised his hand to greet them with a reserved smile, then walked in front of the centaurs and ox-headed tribes. The leader of the centaurs was called Mang, and the leader of the ox-headed tribes was called Black Horn. Both of them were very tall, but they were so thin that bones could be seen everywhere. The tribesmen behind them also looked very weak. It was said that after the two tribes refused to submit to Sir Divine Envoy, they started to get sick and had no strength left in their bodies. Moreover, they couldn't eat ordinary plants, and could only eat the most tender and clean grass. But how could there be clean grass in this wasteland? The food that Elder Bai brought solved their predicament, so they made up their minds to come over and seek refuge. At worst, they would just die, but at least they could die with Yunjioga as ghosts. Don't worry and stay here. I won't mistreat you. Yunjioga simply said a few words to them, then went to the high platform in the plaza with Zi Shang. Zi Shang stood behind Yunjioga. His tall figure was like a mountain, and a sharp and dangerous aura spread in the air, as if it wanted to steal the air away. The beast men surrounding the high platform all tensed up, looking at Zi Shang with eyes full of fear. It was only when Yunjioga spoke that the suffocating atmosphere was broken. I believe that Elder Bai and Chief Meng have already told you about the demonic aura. You must have a lot of questions in your hearts. Today, I will explain it to you all. Yunjioga didn't waste any time and directly released the knoll and ash. She then told them about how Nangongyu released the strange disease, used the gaga grass to demonize the knoll, and made the magic stone weapon to pollute ash. The beast men were in an uproar. The centaurs and ox-headed tribes' faces were ashen. Their tribes were also sick before. If it wasn't for the eagle men coming to help them, they would have ended up like the knoll. Miss Yun, can they still be saved? What if they get the strange disease? Mang and Black Horn asked at the same time. I haven't found a way to save them yet. However, you don't have to be afraid of the strange disease. It's because your bodies are too weak to resist the death aura. As long as you have a full stomach, you will be able to resist it. Yunjioga didn't mention that the golden light could dispel the demonic aura. This kind of thing was only suitable for private research. Then what should we do? Will we all become puppets in the end? Black Horn looked at the knoll's lifeless eyes. He didn't want to become like that at all. So I need you to move the beast men of the other tribes into Cloud City as soon as possible. You beast men have no resistance to the demonic aura. It will only get more and more dangerous outside, Yunjioga said. Nangongyu must have taken control of many tribes. He had to save them as soon as possible. The Boer people next door also got the strange disease. I will go find them tomorrow, Black Horn said quickly. The Boer people were too arrogant and didn't believe Elder Bai's words, so they didn't follow them. Next, I will research a new way to dispel the demonic aura. If you need anything, you can go find Elder Bai and Chief Meng. They will be in charge of everything in and out of the city. Yunjioga called Elder Bai and Meng over. The two beast men held their heads high and were very proud. They felt that the wisest decision in their lives was to seek refuge with Yunjioga. I will leave the matters of Cloud City to you. If there's anything you don't understand, ask me. Yunjioga finished speaking and left the small plaza. The most important thing now was to find out the secret of the golden light and absorb it before Nangong Yu did. Why don't you take the opportunity to find Li Wei? Zi Shang didn't understand. He felt that Yunjioga was wasting too much time on saving these beast men. I did a divination a while ago and found that Li Wei is currently very safe. We don't need to go find him. He will appear when he needs to. If we carelessly reveal his whereabouts, it will be disadvantageous to him, Yunjioga said. Chapter 521. You mean, Nangong Yu and Chosun don't know Li Wei is here? Zi Shang raised a brow. They will only think that Yun Wei is here. Other than Yunjioga and Zi Shang, no one else knew that Yun Wei was Li Wei's reincarnation. Don't underestimate the difference. Yun Wei was just a pill master, but Li Wei was her divine guard. Nangong Yu would make a wrong judgment if she didn't know his true identity. This was the best protection for Li Wei. If Yunjioga went to find Li Wei openly, it would help Nangong Yu set a direction. I see. Zi Shang was very confident in Yunjioga's divination skills. Yunjioga and Zi Shang came to an empty house and let Gua and the rabbit elder out. He wanted to check if they were injured. However, the rabbit elder said angrily, "You lied to us." I didn't. You should have heard what I said at the square. We didn't capture you on purpose. Yunjioga felt helpless. These rabbits were really sensitive and suspicious. The slightest movement could make them flip out. You said you would save our people. Where are they now? The rabbit elder pressed. Here. Yunjioga let the rabbit leader out. Leader. Elder. The two old rabbits hugged each other and started crying. They didn't look wise at all. Miss Yun, how's Egu? Gua ran to Yunjioga and asked with red eyes. When she was captured, she only saw Egu fall to the bottom of the cliff with heavy injuries. He's fine. He's recovering at Eagle Cliff. If you want to see him, I'll get Zhe to send you there. Yunjioga said while checking Gua's pulse. Luckily, Gua was very healthy and the baby was fine. Gua looked at the leader and the elder hesitantly and shook her head. I'll go see Egu later. The elder had a huge misunderstanding about Miss Yun. She was worried that the elder would leave with his people in a fit of anger. She could stay and persuade them. Yunjioga looked at the rabbit leader and elder who were hugging each other and said, "If you don't want to stay, I won't force you. Find Elder Bai if you have any problems." Then, he turned and walked out of the house. You're too kind to them. Zi Shang's expression was a little displeased. Those rabbits didn't know what was good for them, so they should be locked up and taught a lesson. Or they could be directly used for research. There are so many shape-shifting orcs. They're not the only ones we need. When Dummy wakes up, he'll know the secret of the golden light. If the rabbit tribe was the only answer, Yunjioga would harden her heart and deal with them, but she didn't want to be the bad guy right now. All right. Zi Shang had originally wanted to secretly make the rabbit tribe suffer a little. Now that he saw that Yunjioga really didn't care about it at all, he dispelled that thought. Yunjioga came to the guest hall and ordered Zhe, call Elder Bai over. Yes. Zhe nodded and called Elder Bai over. Miss Yun, have you rescued the rabbit tribe? Elder Bai asked as soon as she sat down. The military counselor had already told her that Gua could transform. He really hoped that Yunjioga could find the secret of the golden light from the rabbit tribe. That way, the orc race would be saved. Yes, but they don't know the secret of the golden light. We can only wait for Dummy to wake up to know the answer. Yunjioga was worried that Elder Bai would harm the rabbit tribe, so she helped them. It seems we still have to rely on our prince. Elder Bai felt it was a pity, but for some reason, he felt proud. That's right, we can only rely on him. Yunjioga's affirmation made Elder Bai even more proud. By the way, the Divine Messenger has already set up a secret base in the Death Swamp to capture shape-shifting orcs everywhere. You must speed up the rescue operation. Also, send people to escort the Leopard Tribe and Lizard Tribe back. Yunjioga took out Little Flower and Big Ear's keepsakes. Yes. Elder Bai took the keepsakes solemnly and began to think about how to complete this mission. This was different from taking back the Centaur Tribe and the Ox-Human Tribe. This was a mission personally issued by Yunjioga. If he couldn't complete it perfectly, it would be troublesome. Yunjioga sent Elder Bai away and was about to rest when she heard Zhe say that the rabbit tribe's leader and elder wanted to see her. Let them in. Yunjioga nodded. These rabbits discussed very quickly. Lady Yun, we've decided. We hope to stay in Yun City, the rabbit tribe's leader and elder said respectfully to Yunjioga. Sure, I'll tell Meng to arrange it for you. Yunjioga was letting Elder Bai lead the Eagle tribe against the outside world and Meng lead the Serpent tribe against the inside world. This was their reward for joining him first. Lady Yun, I was too emotional before and was disrespectful to you. Please forgive me, the rabbit tribe's leader said guiltily. It's nothing, I can understand. Yunjioga then put on a look that said, what else do you want? The rabbit tribe's leader and elder glanced at each other. Then, the rabbit tribe's leader walked up and said to Yunjioga, you asked about the origin of the golden light in our bodies. I thought about it and remembered that the ancestors left some clues. What clues? Yunjioga raised an eyebrow. These rabbits were indeed hiding something. Lady Yun, before I tell you this clue, I hope that you can fulfill a few small requests of our rabbit tribe, the tribe's leader said bravely. Say it. As long as it's not too excessive, I can fulfill it. Yunjioga didn't dislike the rabbit's petty thoughts as long as they didn't go overboard. First, I hope that you can choose a suitable base in the city, the tribe's leader said carefully. You can only choose a base that hasn't been occupied. Yunjioga wouldn't chase away other beastmen for them. Of course, the tribe's leader said hurriedly. Alright, what's the second request? Yunjioga saw that the tribe's leader didn't look like an idiot. He probably wouldn't make any ridiculous requests. Second, I hope that you can accept Meng as your guard. He's the strongest warrior of our rabbit tribe and also the fastest beastman in transformation. With him around, your safety will be guaranteed. The rabbit tribe's leader spoke of Meng proudly. Sure. Yunjioga nodded. Meng's male rabbit looked quite strong. Lady Yun, you are so generous. I thank you on behalf of the rabbit tribe. The rabbit tribe's leader knew when to stop. You only have these two requests. Yunjioga was very surprised. These were just two small requests. Even if they didn't use the clues about the golden light, she would still agree. Chapter 522. Yes, that's all. The leader nodded. Of course, she wanted more, but greedy rabbits didn't make people like them. I can give you 2 more requests. Tell me when you think of them. Yunjioga didn't want to take advantage of these 2 rabbits. Thank you for your kindness. The leader of the rabbits was happy. She knew Yunjioga was a generous person. She wouldn't lose out if she followed him. Okay, now tell me what the clue is, Yunjioga said. It's blood, the leader of the rabbits said seriously. Blood? Yunjioga immediately thought of what Little Flower had said. Cho Sen had captured the orcs and locked them in cages to drink their blood. Could drinking blood absorb the power of the golden light? If that was true, wasn't the leader of the rabbits afraid that he would eat them? Yes, it's our blood. After we give birth to our children, we feed them a little of our blood to stimulate their strength. However, this method only works on our people. It doesn't work on other beast men, including the other group of rabbit people. The rabbit chief was gambling that Yunjioga wouldn't hurt them by revealing this secret. I need some of your blood to prove this. Yunjioga didn't think the rabbits were lying, but he still had to verify it. Of course, you can take mine, the leader of the rabbits said. No, take mine. The rabbit elder, who hadn't said anything, walked forward. Her red eyes looked at Yunjioga and said, if you need, I can stay by your side and let you examine me. You don't have to be so nervous. You aren't the only orcs that can transform. Yunjioga told them about Little Flower and Big Ear. He wanted the rabbit people to relax. I didn't expect Little Flower and Big Ear to have the golden light. It looks like the secret of the golden light is deep. The leader of the rabbits and the elder knew Little Flower and Big Ear. They relaxed when they heard they had companions. You can take the blood yourself. I want the blood of all of your people. I don't need too much. 1 bottle is enough for each of you. Yunjioga took out a few hundred transparent crystal bottles that were the size of a thumb. He said, remember to write the names on the bottles. Don't confuse them. Yes. The rabbit elder and the leader took the bottles and left respectfully. After the two left Yunjioga's house, they sighed in relief. They were both glad that they had survived. Telling a secret like this had put a lot of pressure on them. Luckily, Yunjioga's reaction was within their expectations. I hope we weren't wrong. The rabbit elder laughed bitterly. She was a pessimist by nature, so this kind of adventure did not suit her. However, she had no other choice. She had just walked around with the elder and was stunned by the majestic castle. She had just gone out for a stroll with the elder and was stunned by this majestic castle. Without a doubt, this kind of castle would become the beastmen's reliance to resist the cold, hunger and death. Currently, the eaglemen and nagas had already gained a foothold in the castle, while the centaurs and oxmen had arrived earlier than them. In the future, they would also be put in an important position. The rabbit tribe was finished. Previously, they had been disrespectful to Yunjioga. Even if they could stay in Cloud City, they would be at the bottom. The rabbit tribe leader didn't want this to happen. In order to gain a place in Cloud City, she took the risk to reveal the secret. Let's go. Let's choose a base before drawing the blood of our tribesmen. The rabbit chief had already chosen to believe Yunjioga. Thus, he did not think too much about it. They led their clansmen to choose a fertile place to settle down, then asked Great Meng to send the blood samples of all their clansmen over. Put it there. Yunjioga had already remodeled his house. There was a row of wooden racks by the wall that were specially used to store blood samples. At this time, there were already 3 tubes of blood on it. They belonged to Dummy, Xiaohua, and Big Ear. Demeng carefully poured all the blood into it, then looked at Yunjioga in awe. Miss Yun, do you have any other orders? Yunjioga was taking notes. Without raising his head, he said, there's nothing else. You can go down now. Yes. After Demeng left, he automatically stood guard at the left door. Ah Zhe, who was dozing off to the right, saw Demeng and said unhappily, Rabbit, go back to where you belong after delivering the things. Don't block the way. This is where I should go. Demeng looked at Ah Zhe coldly. The place you should go is the rabbit house, not here. Ah Zhe raised his eyebrows and made a fierce look. Miss Yun has already agreed to take me as a guard. You have no right to chase me away. Demeng raised his chin and looked at Ah Zhe with disdain. That's impossible. Only the eaglemen can be Miss Yun's guard. You're just a male rabbit. What right do you have to steal our position? Ah Zhe realized that he was being looked down upon by a rabbit. He was furious. They had fought with the Naga several times to get the position of guard. Because I can defeat you, Demeng said in a low voice. Before coming, the chief told him that he didn't need to hide his power. He had to let Miss Yun see his value. Ha, a rabbit dares to say that he can defeat me? Ah, Zay thought this male rabbit was crazy. If you don't believe me, come and try. Demeng showed a provocative expression. I'll beat you to death. Ah, Zay immediately flapped his wings and charged at Demeng. His fist brought with it a sharp sound of wind. Demeng rolled on the ground and dodged to the side. Little rabbit, how come you're down before I even hit you? Ah, Zay laughed. Just when he was about to give Demeng a lesson, he felt a pain in his chest. His body flew out involuntarily. Demeng jumped up from the ground and chased after Zay with extreme speed. His fists landed on Zay's body, pressing him to the ground and beating him up. The orcs who passed by surrounded them and cheered as they watched the commotion. Zay, aren't you an eagleman? How come you're beaten up like this by the rabbit men? Ha ha ha, rabbits used to be the food of eagles. Now it's the other way around. Elder Bai heard the commotion and rushed over. Seeing that Zay was beaten black and blue, he was about to go up and stop him. Don't move. Yin Jioga stopped Elder Bai. She had heard the commotion and came out. Miss Yun, if you continue, Zay will go crazy. Then, that male rabbit will be in danger, Elder Bai said urgently. Zay will go crazy? What does that mean? Yin Jioga's heart jumped. Don't think that Zay looks dumb and easy to bully. When he's really angry, he's very scary. Elder Bai hurriedly recounted Zay's past. Chapter 523. His parents passed away when he was very young, leaving his brother, who was 3 years younger than him, to depend on each other. The tribe would distribute food to them regularly, but it wasn't enough to fill their stomachs. One day, Zay saw that his brother was very hungry, so he sneaked him out of Eagle Cliff to pick fruits. He didn't expect to enter the territory of Gale wolf rabbits. Gale wolf rabbits were mutated species. They looked like rabbits but were crueler and more ferocious than wolves. The Gale wolf rabbit tore Zay's brother apart and swallowed him. At the time, Zay was only 10. When he saw his brother get killed, he suddenly went crazy. Not only did he kill the rabbits, but he also injured the people who went to find them. Later on, the old tribe leader personally brought him back. Elder Bai still had lingering fear when he talked about the past. Zay, who was covered in wolf blood, was as scary as a demon. Although he returned to normal after waking up, he would lose control when he saw the Gale wolf rabbit. He would even be very aggressive when he saw the rabbit race. It wasn't until Agu's rabbit companion, Gua, appeared that his hostility toward the rabbit race decreased. But now that he was being suppressed by Demeng, he might very well go crazy. It would be too late to stop him. Was the golden light the reason for Zay's madness? Yin Jioga was still mulling over this problem when he heard Zi Shang say coldly, Zay, it was because you were too useless that your brother was killed by the Gale wolf rabbit. What are you talking about? Zi Shang was clearly rubbing salt on Zay's wound. Yin Jioga wanted to beat him to death. Zay, who was waving his fists randomly, immediately froze when he heard Zi Shang's words. Demeng flipped away from Zay. He just wanted to prove his power. He didn't want to hurt others. Zay, are you okay? Elder Bai asked worriedly. Zay looked up. His eagle eyes were eerily red. He let out a shrill scream and leaped toward Great Meng crazily. Demeng blocked with his hand but felt his arm was about to break. He couldn't help but fly back. He quickly steadied himself and counterattacked, punching at Zay's ribs. Zay dodged to the side and fought with Demeng. Hurry up and open your spirit eye to check. Zi Shang urged Yin Jioga. I already opened it. Yin Jioga opened his spirit eye and found that Zay's golden light was like a burning flame. The fuel was his life force. Quick, capture Zay. Yin Jioga said urgently. If this continued, Zay would really go crazy. Zishang immediately stopped Zay. Zay struggled with all his might, almost flipping Deceased's sword over. Yunjioga flicked out his moon spirit threads and tied him up. Then, he quickly pricked him with needles to let out his blood. Zay's meridians were blocked. The golden light gradually faded, but he was unconscious. Is Zay okay? Elder Bai quickly came over. I'm fine. I just need to rest for a few days. Yunjioga stood up and looked at Demeng. You're injured. Do you want to go back and rest? No need, it's just a superficial wound. Demeng shook his head. The golden light on his body could heal wounds. Zay was strong, but he didn't deal a fatal injury to him. That's good. Yunjioga took Zay in to get his blood drawn and let Elder Bai send him back to Eagle Cliff. At this time, Yunjioga had already received 4 blood samples and placed them on the wooden shelves. The Leopard Men race and the Lizard Men race each took charge. The Eagle Men race had 2. The Rabbit Men race had 500. The blood samples of the 4 races were clearly different. The Leopard Men and Lizard Men races' blood was a little gray. It looked like they were slightly infected by devil chi. The Rabbit Men race's blood was very light. Some of it might have been absorbed by their bones, skin, and flesh. Zay's blood was fiery red. This was a special characteristic of his berserk race. Dummy's blood was the brightest. It was golden and warm. It was also the thickest of all the blood samples. Yunjioga tried to put the Rabbit Men race's blood together with the Eagle Men and Leopard Men race's blood. There was a violent collision between the two. In the end, they melted into a pool of blood. If their blood is incompatible, why did Cho-sun suck their blood? Zishang asked. Maybe he's practicing some technique that can counteract this effect. Yunjioga guessed. Looks like I still have to drag him out of Grey Castle and ask him. Zishang rubbed his chin. He was thinking about how to attack Grey Castle. First, you have to get rid of the death chi and miasma. This Fei can help. Second, you have to get rid of the puppet orcs. This is a little troublesome, Yunjioga analyzed. Because the puppet orcs were not afraid of death or pain. Ordinary orcs could not do that. Grey Castle should have many magic stone tools. Ordinary orcs could not resist them. In the current situation, we can only make the orcs awaken the golden light as soon as possible. If we can awaken a golden light orc army, then attacking Grey Castle will not be a problem. Zishang thought for a while and said, so far, it seems that there are 3 ways to awaken the orcs. First, blood inheritance. Second, the death of a loved one. Third, life and death. We just have to simulate these 3 situations and throw the orcs in. Then, we can harvest a large number of golden light orcs. This is just a hypothesis. We can't test it before we are sure. Yunjioga glared at Zishang. This was the key to conquering the orc tribe. What if they were scared away? Then I hope you can test it as soon as possible. Time is limited. Cho-sun and Nangong, you will not sit still and wait for us to catch up. Zishang shrugged. Instead of boasting to me here, why don't you go and help Elder Bai and Meng? The more orcs you gather, the closer we will be to the golden light. Yunjioga said as he pushed Zishang out of the door to prevent him from causing trouble. After driving Zishang out, Yunjioga called Meng over. Miss Yun, what can I do for you? He looked at Yunjioga fervently. Elder Bai had been summoned many times, and even the rabbit tribe leader had come once. However, he had not been summoned even once. He was really worried that the Naga tribe had fallen out of favor. Meng, how many orcs are controlled by the demonic energy? Yunjioga asked. There are 10 now. 5 are Nagas, 3 are centaurs, and 2 are bulls. Meng's voice was heavy. It was all his fault for leading his people to seek refuge with the oracle. That was why his people were controlled. If they had not met Yunjoga, they would have ended up like the Knoll tribe. Bring them to the house at the back of the mountain. I will see if I can cure them. The area at the back of the mountain had been designated as a prison by Een Shirley. Yunjoga planned to conduct his experiment on activating the orc's golden light there. I will bring them there now. Meng turned around and left. Just as Yunjoga was about to move the blood sample and the wooden frame to the back of the mountain, Meng came in and reported that the military advisor of the Eagle tribe was requesting an audience. Tell him to wait for me in the guest hall. Yunjoga put the blood sample and the wooden frame into his storage bag and walked out of the guest hall. Miss Yun. The military advisor quickly stood up when he saw Yunjoga. He placed his fist on his left chest and saluted. Chapter 524. Sit. How's your injury? Yunjoga saw that counselor looked fine. He should have recovered well. My injury is healed thanks to you. Agu has woken up too. He's with Gua in the city. Counselor sat down. Wait a moment. When Yunjoga heard this, he called Meng in and said, later, tell Chief Meng to remember all the pregnant beast men. Every morning, I will check on them in the house beside the plaza. Then, I will give each pregnant woman an extra portion of food. Yes, sir. Meng answered loudly and went out. Lady Yun, you only have Meng as your bodyguard. I'm afraid it won't be enough. Why don't I send Ah Ping and Ah Fei over? The military advisor asked carefully. No need. Zay is enough. Yunjoga shook his head. She could protect herself. She didn't need so many orcs as guards. Zay is your guard, but he lost control when he was on duty. He failed to live up to your trust. Counselor lowered his head in shame. If Zay wasn't still unconscious, he would have tied him up and dragged him over. They finally got a good position next to Lady Yun because of the human race, but it was ruined by Zay. Don't blame Zay. He'll still be my guard when he recovers, Yunjoga said. I'm afraid he won't have the face to see you. Counselor shook his head. Yunjoga thought about it and said, how about this? I'm going to set up a personal guard team. There will be 2 eagle people, snake people, rabbit people, centaur people and bull people. Zay will be the captain and Amon will be the vice captain. What do you think? If Zay is the captain, the whole team will fall apart. Counselor showed an exaggerated expression. Although he was grateful for Yunjoga's trust in the eagle people, Zay was really unreliable. Then let him be the vice captain. Yunjoga smiled and said, I recently discovered some clues that might be able to stimulate the golden light in an orc's body. Do you want to investigate it with me? The military advisor was quite smart, and it would be good to have him as an assistant. It's my honor. Counselor suppressed his excitement and bowed to Yunjoga. Then go to the back mountain and see if Meng brought the orcs there. Yunjoga said. Yes. After the military counselor left, Yunjoga called Amon in and asked him to inform the Beastman Patriarch to select his personal guards. I'll go now. Meng did not know that he was about to become the team leader. He was overjoyed when he heard that he could choose another rabbit man. Yunjoga left the meeting hall and went to the back of the mountain. There was a large wall at the back of the mountain, and inside it was a low gray prison cell. The prison had 2 floors, and there were more than 10 small cells on the ground. The dungeon was used to hold important people. Yunjoga pushed the door open and walked into the cell. He saw that Meng and the military advisor had already placed the out-of-control orc in a large cell. Among the Nagas were Aunt Gaga and 4 middle-aged female Nagas who used to plant the Gaga grass. The centaurs were 2 aunties, while the oxen were 2 youths. Both of their expressions were numb, their eyes lifeless. These people are controlled because they have been in contact with the magic stone for a long time. Meng briefly explained their situation. I got it. You can go back to your work. Yunjioga waved his hand and left respectfully. Miss Yun, how do you plan to test their golden light? The military counselor asked excitedly. Based on my research, there are 3 ways for orcs to awaken their golden light. First, it's through blood inheritance. Second, it's the death of their loved ones. Third, it's a matter of life and death. I want to simulate this situation and see if I can awaken them. However, based on the information she had collected so far, those who could awaken their golden light were all young and strong men. It would be difficult for the old, weak, women and children. However, she could only try her best in this situation. Miss Yun, why don't you let me try? The military counselor did not believe that the old, weak, women and children could awaken their golden light. You? Yunjioga looked at the military counselor. He was a good seedling. The Eagle Squad is willing to be your test subject. No matter what happens, we will not complain. The military counselor swore with a serious face. The fate of the gnolls had alerted all the orcs. Awakening the golden light was the only way out. He was willing to pay any price for it. All right, I agree to your request. However, let's use them for the test first. The gray gas in their brains is easier to observe. It won't be too late to use it on you after I find a suitable plan. Good steel should be used where it matured. She would use the military counselor as a test subject after the plan was mature. It would be best if she could succeed in one shot. Yes. The military counselor nodded. Then, he asked seriously, what do we do now? There are no rabbit men here, so we can't use the blood inheritance. Let's try the other 2 first. Find out the family situation of these orcs first, Yunjioga ordered. The military counselor was stunned. He asked nervously, are you going to kill their relatives? Do I look like such a cruel and stupid person? Yunjioga was speechless. What did the military counselor think of her? No. The military counselor nodded honestly. He was also ashamed of his sudden idea. All right, do your investigation well. I'm going out for a while. Yunjioga left the back of the mountain and prepared to look for Ian Shirley in the plantation. The plantation had expanded for a few more miles. The gray wall divided the vast and fertile land, which would be given to the orcs as their territory. Yunjioga did not walk through the tunnel. Instead, she jumped onto the wall. She looked down from above and saw that the territory of the Naga tribe had already grown large yellow grass. The walls were covered in moss. The Naga tribe had built a row of wooden houses near the entrance. It was said that these houses were personally designed by Ian Shirley. The orcs lived on the upper floors, while the livestock were kept on the lower floors. Now, there were many elk, pheasants, goats, and other wild beasts. These wild beasts wanted to escape at first. Later, when they realized that they could eat and drink here and that it was safe, they succumbed one by one. The large grass and moss in the territory of the horse race and the ox race next door had also started to grow. They also lived in stilted houses. There were also wild beasts downstairs. They were prepared to exchange them with other races in the future. Moreover, because they were herbivores, these wild beasts were very tame. They were much easier to deal with than the Naga tribe. The territory chosen by the rabbit men was at the border of the other races' territories. Although they had only been here for 2 days, rows of stilted houses had already been built. They were really good at planting. The large grass and moss grew faster than the horse race and the ox race. On a sturdy stilted house, Gua said to a Gu, "If you live here with me, we can raise some wild beasts under the stilted house." "All right, I'll listen to you." A Gu was a henpecked man. He would do whatever Gua said. "Then why are you still standing there? Go and catch them." Gua patted a Gu's wings reproachfully. "I'll go now." A Gu immediately flapped his wings and left. He turned into a small black dot in the sky. Chapter 525. Yunjioga was in an indescribably good mood as she looked at this lively scene. She didn't want to disturb the working orcs, so she covered herself with moon spirit silk and walked along the wall. When she passed by the rabbit people's territory, she saw the rabbit chief walking to her stilted house and seemed to be watering it. Yunjioga took a closer look and realized that the land was planted with carrots. After the black rain disaster, countless edible plants died, leaving only the strong wild grass. Now, only the rabbit people grew carrots in the entire Cloud City. She felt that it was necessary to study it. Yunjioga jumped off the wall and removed her disguise. She pretended to casually walk past the rabbit people's gate. "Miss Yun, why are you here? Come in and sit." Gua saw her and immediately came out excitedly. The rabbit chief, who had just finished watering, came out and invited Yunjioga to visit. The other busy rabbit people also hurried over and looked at her with respect and admiration. "How are you guys living here?" Yunjioga smiled and walked into the rabbit people's territory. "It's very good here. Thank you for giving us such a safe territory." The rabbit elder was happy from the bottom of her heart. After the black rain disaster, they hadn't felt safe and relaxed like this for a long time. "That's good. You guys go ahead. I'll just have a chat with the chief." Yunjioga waved her hand and let the rabbit people continue with their work. "Miss Yun, this way please." The rabbit chief thought that Yunjioga was looking for her, so she led her to her stilted house. The chief's stilted house was in the corner of the territory. Other than a bunch of dried green carrot leaves hanging at the door, it was no different from the other rabbit people's stilted houses. Yunjioga didn't go upstairs. She walked directly to the first floor. The rabbit chief hurriedly followed and smiled. "This place is dirty and broken. There's nothing to see here." "Really? I think it's good that you're planting carrots here," Yunjioga said with a smile. The rabbit chief was stunned. She smiled calmly. "I really can't hide anything from you. These carrots are planted for the cubs of the tribe to eat. However, they've just been planted. It'll take at least a month for them to grow. If they're successful, I'll send some over for you to try." "How did you plant them?" Yunjioga asked casually. "Just plant it casually. The land here is alive, so it should be able to succeed," the rabbit elder said. Yunjioga took a whiff and immediately frowned. "You used blood to plant carrots?" The rabbit tribe leader was stunned, unable to reply for a long time. "I noticed that the weeds in your territory are growing very well. Don't tell me you guys used your blood to grow them?" Yunjioga looked straight into the eyes of the rabbit tribe leader. "No." The rabbit chief laughed bitterly and said, "We're not blood rabbits. How can we treat our blood as rain and scatter it everywhere? I have no choice. Newborn babies can only eat this." "Have you always used blood to plant them?" Yunjioga asked. "No, it's because we couldn't grow carrots anymore after the black rain, so we used blood to grow them." The rabbit chief shook his head. "What about before the black rain disaster?" Yunjioga continued asking. "At that time, as long as we watered them on time, the carrots would grow. That was why the rabbit chief hated the black rain disaster. How about this, I'll give you a mission. Open up 2 more plots of land to plant carrots. One plot will be watered on time like before, and the other plot will be watered with your feces." Yunjioga wanted to do a test to see if there was any difference between the carrots grown on the 3 plots of land. "Won't it be very dirty to use feces on the ground?" The rabbit chief looked hesitant. She did not understand what Yunjioga meant. Animal feces are the best nutrients for the land. Yunjioga saw the rabbit chief's confused expression, so he told her the method of fermenting feces. Then he encouraged her. "Try it. You'll discover a new world." "All right, I'll let my tribesmen try it later." The rabbit chief nodded seriously. She could sense that the method Yunjioga gave them was very important. "As a reward, I'll give you these cabbage seeds. You can try planting them when you have the time." Yunjioga took out the most common cabbage seeds in the mortal realm from his storage bag. He had randomly collected them in Thunder Nation and placed them inside. These cabbages were easy to plant and had a high yield. Once they were planted, they would be good food. Thank you, Miss Yun. The rabbit chief took the seeds respectfully and immediately felt that she was valued. She became more friendly to Brother Yunjioga. Don't let anyone know about the blood-bred carrots. Do you understand? Yunjioga warned sternly. If the carrots produced by the rabbit blood had any special effects, then these rabbits must be protected. Otherwise, it would be troublesome. Don't worry, Miss Yun. Only you know about this method. The rabbit chief was not a fool. This carrot field was a secret even in her tribe. No one knew about it except the elders. That's good. Take care of yourself. Your tribesmen still need you. Yunjioga looked at the knife marks hidden under the hide of the rabbit elder. He admired her selfless spirit. The rabbit chief smiled. She was very grateful for Yunjioga's concern. After Yunjioga left under the enthusiastic gaze of the rabbit people, he went to look for Ian Shirley. Ian Shirley was still building a wall with his wife and child. Fei Fei, who was beside him, was working hard to turn a dead land into a living land. Ever since Zishang took Fei Fei away on the day he built the city, this little black and white butterfly had been working diligently. It had already become a divine beast in the hearts of the orcs. They worshipped it as much as she did. Master, look at how much living land I've made. Fei Fei flapped her wings and flew over when she saw Yunjioga. She looked very proud. Good job. Yunjioga patted Fei Fei's head encouragingly and fed her a few cherry pills. Fei Fei swallowed the cherry pill and went back to work eagerly. She felt a sense of mission now. Opening up a living land meant more food. If she gave it to the orcs, she could save many lives. Miss Yun, why are you here? Ian Shirley walked over after he finished the last brick. His wife and child continued working on the same spot. I want you to help me create an illusion, Yunjioga said straightforwardly. The amount of yin yang qi I have is enough to build a wall. I'm afraid I can't create an illusion. Ian Shirley frowned. He had been oppressed by Zishang for the past few days. He was about to puke from building a wall. I'll build a formation first. You just have to inject some yin yang qi into it. It won't take much effort. Yunjioga couldn't bear to part with her divine power. She could only look for Ian Shirley. All right. Ian Shirley was just grumbling. He didn't forget that Fan Ian had given him a mission. He had to listen to all of Yunjioga's orders. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.